Welcome, everybody, to another BTR stream. I'm your host, Lev Polyakov, LevPo on Twitter. All of you who are watching right now, even before we start, don't forget to subscribe immediately. Subscribe right now. This is the greatest, most underrated channel in all of YouTube history, and I'm so grateful for everybody to be joining us here today. Anyway, we are going to be talking about memes, the history of memes, what memes mean in the grand scheme of things as this new language of the internet. And with us, I am grateful to have all these amazing panelists, including, to my right, MemeAnalysis, one of my favorite YouTube channels of all time, and I owe it to Gio for introducing me to the great works of MemeAnalysis. And we also have Logan, we have Metaphor Man, we have S. Nihil, and we have Karwai Murai, if I'm saying that correctly. No, Kashiwagi. I don't know, which one do you want to be known by?
Kashiwagi. We'll go with Kashiwagi.
Okay, we'll go with that. You are using a voice changer, so there's going to be a lot of interesting vocalizations that we're going to be experiencing today. Anyway, let us start with MemeAnalysis. Oh, and also before I forget, Gio, you're going to be doing something really special today.
Yes, I'm going to be painting landscape, Canadian Algonquin Park, but it will have, hopefully near the end, a gondola in it, just extending to the trees. So let me just reverse my camera. I have the, yeah, there you go. Does this come out good, Lev? Or?
Yes, yeah. Here we go.
There you go. So that's the preliminary. So shill the show, like, subscribe, raid Shadow Legends.
And let's go to MemeAnalysis. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to look into memes in the first place?
Yes. So I suppose early on, long ago, I found that the internet was far more significant to the lives of young people than it might have been thought. I think everybody kind of knows that young people spend lots and lots of time in this place, in this kind of area that is not the real world. It's not like real life. And there are strange ways that people online communicate. It's not like the real world. It's not like the normal world. But these are usually derided, even by the inhabitants, as meaningless jokes. But having read a good amount of Freud and Jung, I knew that these were not meaningless and that jokes are very significant unconsciously and psychologically, in that this venue of memes was the best way to access the unconscious mind of a generation.
And which are the memes that you started to look at in the very beginning that really drew you in?
In the very beginning, I think, of course, it was Pepe. Pepe was widely known and very important, especially in the 2016 election. I had been using 4chan and seeing the mass proliferation of rare Pepes and such, the idea of kek. And especially in kek, I saw that there was an archetypal character to the memes that were shared. I was able to recognize that kek had a very strong likeness to Thoth, Egyptian god, to Hermes, and that this was not a meaningless connection, but that in fact it was the way that kek communicated that was archetypal. You know, oftentimes it was based on the trip code or the random number that is with every 4chan post, and that random number was kind of, it could signify that a message, that a post was divine, that it was from and adorned, or rather, excuse me, that it was, you know, chosen, that it was divine from kek, and it was done through repeating numbers. And that, of course, has a lot of likeness to Kabbalah and to the various occult systems of numerology. But this was just a spontaneous product of that online community.
And how about the rest of you guys? What were the first memes that you discovered that really got you into this online sphere? And also, if you can, briefly introduce yourselves as well for the newcomers. That includes Logan, S. Nahel, and Karamarai. So go for it, Logan. You start first. Logan, yes.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I got it on push to talk right now.
All right, sounds good. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and what are some of the memes that got you started?
Well, I've had a computer since I was in I was like 12 when I got my first computer. So I've been kind of like not really addicted, but I've been constantly using the internet since then. So I've kind of enveloped myself in those like social circles online. So I don't really know what I would say I've got started on. Probably, oh fuck, I don't even know. Remember back when I was a kid, I really liked fucking Rage comics for some reason.
And what about yourself, Metaphor Man?
Oh man, where to begin? Way back. We're talking like 06, 07. There was a wiki which I think is still up, but it's got I don't know. There's like a bunch of ads and the website's all screwed up. It's called Encyclopedia Dramatica.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and like
There you go.
when you're young and probably on the spectrum, you know, when you find one link that you like, you just do like a huge deep dive of everything. And Encyclopedia Dramatic, like when I first found that, it was talking about this, you know, this wretched place that no one ever wanted to go, you know, the 4chan B board, and like it was like so taboo, and I was like, oh man, I'd never go there, you know, it's too spooky, so I'll just stay on this site, you know, read up on everything before I, you know, even bother going. And you know, of course, when you actually go there, eventually it's just a bunch of random porn and shit posting. But probably the same as Logan, Rage comics were a big thing back when they started. And you know, back then, at least like the saturation of certain things like Rage comics or Wojak or whatever, it would stay like, I guess, in season for a really long time, you know, as opposed to now where it's like there's meme of the week and then it's just memory hold.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like with movies too, or maybe music. Like, I don't know, would you everybody agree, like MemeAnalysis, do you notice the same pattern throughout history of different entertainment that we have, having these huge chunks of influence over a large amount of people, and now everything's just like split up and fragmented into all these smaller units?
Oh, I think it's accelerating culture. You know, in the past, a piece of media might have lasted hundreds of years, thousands of years, and today it lasts a few weeks if we're lucky.
Yeah, and when it comes to the kind of media that most people are being consumed by, it reminds me of a talk that Helios Logos had on his podcast Sunblind, shout out to Sunblind, where they were talking about that biblical idea of the giant statue with the golden face, with the silver body, with the and so on and so forth until you get to the clay boots. The idea here is that we have these AI megastructures that he thinks are going to take people in as cells of their hive mind, where most people are just going to be programmed by all this information that they receive. I mean, this is kind of moving the conversation more into where I wanted to go later on in the future, but I just wanted to slightly touch on that aspect right now for everybody to keep in mind that I do think there is a merit to the idea of ideas have people more than people have ideas in a lot of cases, which also brings it to that NPC meme and all that. But anyway, let's talk with our final two people here as far as introductions go. So, S. Nihil, can you talk a little bit about yourself and how you got introduced to memes?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Logan and Metaphor Man. Like 4chan was pretty much my childhood. Like I know, Aspie, bullied, so like I just didn't have many friends, so it felt like the ultimate kind of way of taking back power by just like breaking random taboos in the internet. And yeah, it honestly, 4chan to me to this day is still a spiritual place. Like, I know that sounds like ridiculous, but for me, no matter how much it changes, it always kind of comes back to some parts of the way of like just being on 4chan resonate with me in ways that actual real life doesn't.
What were some of the aspects, would you say, of real life that did not resonate with you that well? And could you say, like, I know that there is a subset of people who want to return to the past, sometimes return to monkey, but sometimes just returning to like 200, 300 years ago, where they think they'd be able to fit in more. Are you in that part of the group, or are you just like more like it doesn't matter where you would have been born, there would just be something about society itself that wouldn't really work for you?
Yeah, I'm probably the latter case. Like, it's kind of an open secret that I'm in like a very fringe death cult on the internet, of like in a small little cabal of antinatalist memers who want the world to burn out.
Interesting.
But
So
sorry.
it's like the church of what was it called again? I don't remember. They did that video I like to watch right after September 11th happened. I don't know if you're familiar with what I'm talking about here. Oh, the Church of Euthanasia. That's what it's called. The Church of Euthanasia. So, Gio, you remember that, right?
I vaguely remember that. Yes, unfortunately, but yeah.
Yes, and we also have 0 HP Lovecraft in the chat, so I'm going to be being possessed by him at certain times to comment as well, and he is here to support our next speaker over here. I can never say your name, I apologize. Kashiwagi. You sound a lot like 0 HP Lovecraft now. Can you speak a little bit and just tell us about yourself? It's not working right now. My apologies. There. Try one more time. I am not hearing anything at all coming out right now. So here's my recommendation. You may be able to do the same thing that 0 HP did right in the chat, and I am going to definitely read out your comments, or if it's better, because right now, for some reason, I don't know why we're not able to get the chat to work on our Discord server. What you can do is I can send you the invite to the Discord server. You can go into the Discord server, and you could write down comments, and then we're going to see those comments right in this window that's to the left of me. And that way, I'm going to be able to read it, and everybody's going to be able to see it. The silver lining here is that we're not going to have the chat that's going to block a lot of your commentary, so you should have pretty much free reign to write as much as you want, and we're all going to be able to read it. So that is my recommendation to you, because the sound is not working right now, unfortunately. Anyway, I want to talk right now about what exactly is happening with memes today. Like, we have this mouse Pepe meme. It is the year of the rat. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it, but why is it that this particular cheese to meet you meme has gotten so popular? So, MemeAnalysis, what do you make of it?
I think cartoons have been playing a pretty large role in memetics for quite a while, probably from the beginning of internet memes. He kind of, but what I'll say, I don't know, I haven't thought much about him, but he reminds me of Ratfink.
Who is Ratfink?
Old character of Ratfink. He was kind of a 60s, a hippie meme. There was a series of like spooky hot rod models that kids would build, and Ratfink was one of them. And
Here
he
he is.
reminds me of Ratfink. There, see, that's him. He reminds me a lot of him.
Oh,
He's like a product of the childish Pepe. I forget the name of the childish Pepe. Maybe it's
Apu Stage, yeah.
Yes. And I like how, I don't know if it's Hapu or not, but there is this terminology going around now of booba whenever breasts are involved. And I've also noticed another one with feet, feta. So things are getting to this very childlike level. And what do you make of that? Why are people regressing into these very primitive sounding booba, feta?
I think it was inevitable. I think it was the inevitable product of the kind of Dionysian character of Pepe, because I suppose he had begun as a kind of neutral character who got very quickly charged during 2016, and we're witnessing the dissipation, kind of the opposite of Dionysus. Like Dionysus started out as a baby; he was a baby god, and he was known for being a baby god. And we're returning to that. We're back at the baby god.
And what do you see in this returning to the baby as possibly having to do with, some people say we're in the Kali Yuga, that we're in the age of iron, that we're in the age of the most suffering. I mean, to me, it's kind of weird to look at it when you had World War I, World War II, when you had all these bad things, death at childbirth. Like, when I look back at all of that, I'm thinking, like, how could it possibly get any worse? So I know these are kind of two questions here, but number one, why do you think the whole return to baby thing has something to do with this going into the Kali Yuga? And two, would you say we are going into a Kali Yuga, or do you think it's been kind of mixed up over time?
No, I don't think we're going to a Kali Yuga. I think it's rather what Crowley described. It's the aeon of the child, the new aeon. And that, unfortunately, rather than taking on the responsibility of what Crowley recognized as the crowned and conquering child, many are choosing to regress. They want to be infantile. They don't want to take on the new responsibilities of the aeon, which are, often what Nietzsche described, the need to be a master of yourself. He also shows how it's like he has a triad of camel to lion to child, and that the child is not a simple infantile child and such. Also, I just wanted to say, I'm a fan of Zero H.P. Lovecraft, and I'm on a pilgrimage right now. I'm in Providence to visit Lovecraft's grave and a few Lovecraft things.
Well, you were commenting, and I want to get to everybody else as well, but you were commenting on the angel appearance in one of your last videos, talking about how the Christian angels, these cherubs, they were more akin to the practices of the pagans, while these much more intricate, kind of like machine elfish depictions of the angels with the multiple eyes, that is something that's much more fundamental to Christianity as well as to these Lovecraftian beings. The only thing I would say as a differentiator is that the Lovecraftian beings, at least the way that you described them when you had that image of this mangled zombie corpse, is that there wasn't anything central to it. While, let's say, these angels, they are very similar, to me at least, to a lot of these psychedelic visions that are a product of sacred geometry. So I was wondering if you could also comment on that differentiation that I just pointed out between these two beings as well.
Well, I think you have, Azrael. Azrael is depicted as not having a center. He's the same kind of form where just, countless eyes on flesh, but he doesn't have the centrality of those the angels from Ezekiel. So it's definitely not a critique that's fit for every type of angel, but I think that most angels have more in common with the rhizomatic Lovecraftian being than with the kind of centralized angels in paganism. Like Azrael's depicted as infinitely tall. You could walk for thousands of years and you would not reach his midway, and it's all eyes.
Interesting. Like, I don't want to harp on this too much, but I would say that a lot of these sacred geometry type machine elf creatures, they also have a similar architecture where you would be able to zoom in infinitely into one of these machine elf type beings and keep seeing more fractal geometry, but it's still something that's based around a certain idea of order as opposed to this very chaotic kind of Akira type blob mess that I think is more resonant of a lot of these Lovecraftian creatures. So I don't want to dwell on it too much, but do you have anything else to add as far as that kind of differentiation goes before I move on?
Did you see my video on loss? I talked about sacred geometry there.
I did not see. No, not yet.
So what I would say is that it is present in every human vision without a doubt, and that it can be autonomous. It can be an autonomous creation of nature for there to be an order, a kind of geometric order. But as to whether or not divinity is always characterized by that, I would almost have to say the opposite, that the order in nature is earthen and human, and this kind of disordered chaos, that is the inhuman. I just think it's dangerous to apply human order to irrational divinity.
Interesting. I mean, the human order, if we're talking about mathematics and the theory of the forms and all that, that's what something that people were looking at as being this order beyond the human imperfection, where we are mere reflections of this perfection. What you're saying is not it's not really that. You're talking beyond all of these, various perfect forms that we have in mind. Although I still think that those forms, they do have some kind of a role to play. I mean, just like I was talking with my friend yesterday, I don't think you're going to get to a point where you're not going to have a number 1 and a number 2. I can't, even the further dimensions are still derivatives of these very basic things that we can imagine. But I don't know, as that we can go on all day till the cows come home about that. I want to get to Metaphor Man and everybody else. So when it comes to this babification that I was talking about earlier, are you noticing it in the culture you're in as well?
Yeah, I think someone was talking earlier about accelerationism and kind of shorten everything down. When I took kind of a leave of absence from Twitter, I was really active on Instagram, and Instagram is I don't know, it's 4th or 5th in the, what is it called? What was that one movie? Human Centipede. Human Centipede, where they're defecating each other's mouths?
Yes.
I think Instagram is damn near at the bottom of that chain. They just take everyone else's refuse and try and pass it off as original content. But anyways, as far as accelerationism and shortening and babification, it got to the point where they were literally just posting fried images with one letter on them, and that was passing off as a huge meme. So as far as attention span versus diversification of content, I think that's definitely been a huge trend.
Interesting.
But then there's one aspect I think of that came up in a recent interview with MemeAnalysis with, I forget his name, but he's also another great Jungian YouTuber, Boy. Yeah. About how the internet is sort of the it's mediating, and again this comes to the accelerationist hyperstition theory, where the internet has become this abstract machine that is really replicating almost a cosmic womb for, in particular, young men. And in a lot of ways, it's interesting because the memetics are the sort of the images on the Platonic cave that is awakening something deeper within us. But at the same time, it's almost like it's hobbling us in a lot of ways, because we're stuck within this this immaturity. We're between immaturity and immaturity with meme culture. And you see, as memes get more evolved and sophisticated, there still is a lot of growth to be had. Because now, if we seriously, it's probably just bullshit, but if we seriously contemplate the position that, memes can change elections and memes can have an actual hyperstitional effect upon the world, then we're, existing in a time frame of almost as if spirit is communicating with itself, because now we're hyper aware, we're hyper present within this particular moment, and we can actively see the transformation of cultural discourse. And it's crazy, it's wild, it's out there. It's something that it's like giving a 5-year-old an AK-47. I don't know how to describe it, but it's...
Oh, and also before we keep going, Super Iron Bob just sent us $5. Thank you so much, Super Iron Bob. I really appreciate it. And also, for anybody else who wants to have us wet our beak, all you have to do is go to the bottom, streamlabs.com/breaktherules or Cointree/breaktherules. That's the one for Bitcoin, whichever one you want to go to. Donate and help us grow. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, We have back with us finally Kashiwagi. How is your sound?
Does this work? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can
I
you hear
can.
me now?
Yes, that is perfect.
Okay, great.
Hear you loud and clear. So please
Wonderful.
tell us a little bit about yourself first and how you got into memes.
Oh, I'm just a shit poster on Twitter. There's really nothing more to it than that. But transitioning a little bit out of what Gio was saying there with the evolution of of memes. And going back to the initial question you'd asked, how you got into the memes and so on, I think something interesting to notice is that, at least for those of us who've been around for maybe a little bit longer, this idea of the meme, as it's currently kind of thought about as this like kind of image with text on it, it didn't always exist. Honestly, that was something that kind of started out, maybe at least in my memory, around, I don't know, 2010 or something like that. But the earliest memes I remember were shit like "all your base are belong to us," or like Yahoo Answers, like how is Babby formed? These things that would just happen in kind of one-off moments around the internet and would be sort of reposted as almost events. But that was what people called memes. I mean, people referred to these things as memes. Putting desu after all your posts on 4chan, that was a meme. And this idea of the image macro, like the Courage Wolf, Insanity Wolf, Foul Bachelor Frog style Reddit meme, Reddit image macro, only came around 2010. And then, a couple years later, you had Facebook memes for teens groups popping up everywhere. So even over the course of a lifetime of people who are maybe older than the average viewer, I don't know what your average viewer's age is, but people who are maybe a little bit older than that, they've seen this transition happen just over the course of their lifetimes.
And do you personally resonate more with the latter or the former? Do you think something's missing now, or it's turning into something that we're not even prepared for yet?
Well, there was a while where I was a little bit resistant to the idea of sort of calling these things memes because I had this older definition of meme in my head. I would call these things image macros. This was the word that we would use for a lot of these things that would be posted around on Reddit. Courage Wolf. What are some other examples of that? The socially awkward penguin, that kind of thing. These were image macros. You would spam them. You would fill the text in and spam them online like a macro. And that was what people called them. Memes felt to me like something older, but sort of over the years, it's taken on this definition. I don't feel alienated from it anymore. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I definitely sign on to the kind of meme magic idea that people were getting at earlier. The MemeAnalysis was talking about the hyperstitional effect of memes. This is definitely something that I think people implicitly felt in 20.
You just got cut off.
But
right
then
now.
at the same time, oh, so did I cut anyone off?
No, go for it.
No, I was going to say about, it seems that in the chat right now, in the stream, we have the full gamut of people from various subsects, like people who are straight up Jungians to antinatalists to la-based epic trads such as myself. Although I don't know, I mean the trad thing's kind of a bit performative at this point, so I'm very open to different ideas. But I think that it's interesting how well we've managed to, or rather how poorly we've managed to, depending on your perspective, mediated the sort of chaos of having such perspectival and chaotic interactions and worldviews that are clashing together. It's very crazy when you actually step back and think about how these different forces can collide on the internet. And I think I tweeted about this the other day about how like now, pariahs and schizos and outsiders and artists and people that are, usually minoritarian, they sort of can come together and find expression within very basic archetypal, or rather maybe to use the John David Ebert definition of iconotype is more, I think, fitting, because memes constantly change and they're not exactly of the era, but they're still wedded to a particular time frame. So it's funny how just a basic meme template can influence and have clout with so many different groups of people that we've, there's almost like a schizo aspect. I know, like, I'm just butchering the Deleuze like schizoanalysis thing, but it's like there's almost a schizoanalysis aspect of the internet as a whole, and meme culture is the quintessential expression of that, because now we can sort of have a connectivity, but one of dissonance, and it's just, I don't know, it's really crazy how I could talk to different people and we have the same understanding of a meme, but yet we have such a different perspective on what constitutes like one particular, like Pepe is obviously the best example, because Pepe has like so much currency and so much iterations that, everyone, it's instantly recognizable, but not really, because, Pepe can be used for a variety of things. It's really as a hyper object, right? Like that's, I think hyperobjectivity of memes is sort of like goes hand. I don't know. I'm being a sued right now, so please, Lev, stop me right now.
No, I don't want to stop you. It's too entertaining to listen to you. But we also have a comment from Zero HP who says someone here is an antinatalist. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So what I wanted to ask was, when we're talking about this united front of all these different people, I think a lot of it also comes from being united against something. And that something, I think, has been this very woke leftwards movement that I don't think was able to successfully meme as much as everybody else. I mean, there is that meme, the left can't meme. So I'm curious, MemeAnalysis, if you have any thoughts on the left can't meme thing as well as everybody else.
I was just talking about this today with my friend.
Oh, by the way, could you talk a little louder to the mic? You're a little bit further away.
I was just thinking about this. I was just talking about this today with my friend, that the right had more successfully memed their theorists, their intellectuals. I'd imagine more right-wing youth had read Evola than left-wing youth had read Deleuze, other than in communities of theory readers. So I would disagree, though, as to whether or not they can't meme. I think, on the contrary, they're far more successful in terms of real life performance in memes.
Yeah.
Their memes may not be on the internet, but they are in person. You know this if you go to school and you talk to people. So really, they have superiority in that sense. The right has the underground, but I think what we have seen, is toilets overflowing over the past few years. The underground is coming up, uglier than ever. So no, I don't. I think it's different realms. It's different realms that have varying aspects of memetic superiority.
Interesting. And Zero HP says they can meme just fine. They just can't participate in dissonant meme culture. Memes are anti-establishment. In the narrow context, everyone who has their pronouns in their bios is participating in a meme. I mean, yes, I guess you could say that, but at the same time, when it comes to these characters that have been developed, whether it's Spurdo, whether it's Pepe, whether it's Wojak, there seems to be, instead of that, more of this like Yas Queen Slay energy from using these GIFs of all these daytime TV show and other establishment figures to show their emotions. So
that's just a product of the culture industry, really. I mean, the meme culture is right there. It's already ready-made for them. They don't have to like fight out in the trenches for their memes. Like, I feel like, we're talking about memes as almost like mechanical reproduction, because, like, let's face it, memes are almost commodified in a lot of ways. Like, memes are also a level entry of like your super secret esoteric understanding of each other, right? So memes almost are like currency in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's why it's difficult. Yeah?
MemeAnalysis and Zero HP Lovecraft are absolutely correct on this one. We're using a very narrow definition of memes in terms of stuff that came out of 4chan. But if you really want to use kind of a broad definition of memes as just kind of reproducible ideas, I mean, what better meme can you talk about than something like Black Lives Matter or equality? the idea of racism or transgenderism or gender identity or rights, human rights. I mean, these are all incredibly successful memes that have taken over the entire globe. And you know, the left absolutely can meme. They can meme far better than the right can. And internet memes are inspiring insofar as they point to a source of kind of like intellectual and memetic creativity on the right, but they haven't been harnessed to actually exert political control in anything close to the way that the left.
And I think that makes sense to me, but curious what everybody else thinks. Metaphor Man, Logol, Esnihil, do you notice this pattern of the left being able to utilize them while not as creatively, more effectively to spread their message across?
They have a bigger platform. As far as like, I wouldn't even say as much of a follower base, but like they most of the time don't have to worry about getting banned, and that's like one of the biggest things. Like there's people I know who have been on the site since I, had started using it for years, and they're on their like 10th, 11th, 12th account to the point where they can't even have any sort of online presence. They have to relegate themselves to a private account with like 80 followers that they know won't report them. And I think that plays into it. Like I don't think it's so much more about the content, just the fact that if you have to keep recycling your followers, every so often, every couple weeks, or hell, even a couple days for some people. But
Nuke Telly.
yeah, especially him. But
have you heard of John Crumb, Lev? Have you heard of John?
No, only Robert Crumb. But who is John Crumb?
Biscuit. You know John Crumb, right?
Oh, Orc Baron? Orc Baron?
No,
No.
John Crumb is someone different.
Tell him about John Crumb, shit,
bro. So he was pretty big during the election time. Back in 2016 when you could literally say anything, and I mean almost anything, and you would never get banned. And John Crumb, I think one of the first posts that went viral was he found some image on Google. It was a bunch of like bloody teeth in a sink, and he's like, just got my face punched out at a Bernie Sanders rally or something like that for wearing a Trump hat.
Oh God, that one, yeah.
yeah. That was John Crumb, but he had a bunch of posts just like that, and it would be it got to the point where it was every couple days, and I think he just got tired of having to remake his account after he goes viral one time.
I'll say though, I think it's I don't think that a large I don't think a large platform is necessary. If anything, when people get banned, it improves the signal. The signal becomes much clearer at that point. So no, I would disagree. I think the voices that get banned become far more memetic. Most people don't listen to the voices that don't get challenged. So no, I would really strongly disagree with that. I don't think that having a larger platform with disinterested users is going to correspond to popular memes. If anything, it's an aid.
That's certainly true. I mean, there are like rather infamous internet personalities out there. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, Justin Murphy, he said a similar thing when he was talking about how valuable it is to be canceled today. Because the more that you're going to be canceled, the more people are going to be interested in what exactly are they canceling this person for? Is there anything valuable behind the scenes? Now, there are some people, though, that you could say, they've been canceled, but they're not really offering anything to the table other than just being, I don't know what the right word here is, but basically, like, once the insults are out of the way, there's nothing behind that facade of anything substantial. But beyond that, as far as the actual ideas go, I don't think we're at a point where the ideas themselves and curiosity about, even really bad ideas has slowed down. I think it's only sped up right now and people have gotten a lot more curious, and I think people have also gotten a bit more creative about the way that they would express themselves online when saying the same thing so that AI would not necessarily be able to catch them, but I don't know as far as Gen Z goes what the trajectory is. I think the youngest person here is Logan. Logan, you were doing some homework before. So can you say, like, are you in school right now, college? Like, what's your situation like, and what are you seeing from the rest of the people you're around with?
Yeah. What the fuck? Can you hear me?
Yes.
My fucking push to talk is being weird. I'm a fucking second year junior in college, and I feel like people have reached a certain point to like becoming developed in meme culture, but they're like not to the point where you could see them going online and posting something regularly like some people do. Like there's a lot of people who just put their 2 cents in on something and then they just leave it. Like there's nobody creating content in my real age group at my school, at least.
Well, what groups are they a part of, intellectually speaking? I'm not talking about like some fancy salon here, but as far as would they gravitate more towards the AOC woke crowd, or would they gravitate more towards the neo-reactionary or something else, like, or none of the above? Are they just the equivalent of "I want to grill in peace" type sentiment?
I know people from all 3 sections, but there's definitely a lot of people from the first. Honestly, there's a lot of people on the left that I know.
And when they talk about a lot of these things, are they echoing similar language? Because one thing I found, I had a talk yesterday with a person I'm working with, and the way that she was talking, she was using a lot of the same language, talking about the privilege checking, the unconscious bias. A lot of the she used the word affirmation, I believe. Like, she was using these very key words that we hear the same people using. And do you notice that same kind of parroting effect going on? Like the equivalent, I guess, of saying "my guy," which is not really something I remember was that active until, what was it, 2016, 2017? Like, do you notice certain patterns in the way people are talking that would express their allegiance to certain ideas?
Not as much as you would honestly expect. Like, normally we kind of talk in our own way. Like we develop our own little sayings. Like, it's not really we're influenced by politics or anything. We just kind of say dumb shit all the time.
Well, I figure that's the way it goes. I mean, recently, as Radikar posted over here, AOC was in that game. What was it called? One of
Among Us?
Among Us. Yeah, why did I say One of Us? Yes, Among Us. And that had 400,000 live viewers that were tuning in. And I think something like that, even though they don't vote, something like that may plant the seed of these are the good guys. But MemeAnalysis, what do you think about it?
All right, you ready for the secret? This is the hot take.
Yes.
Yes, please.
I might make this a video. So, the popularity of Among Us is a part of the social media push to vote. If you've seen, like, every single social media platform is like shoving it down your throat. You need to vote. Go and vote. Register to vote. I've never played Among Us, but I know one of the primary game mechanics is voting, and it's voting for the right character. So the game was not popular for like the majority of its existence, and then suddenly it boomed at the same time. I would guarantee you that it corresponds to the message of voting.
Yeah, that game's been out for what, like 2 years now?
Oh. But is it voting for the good guy or the bad guy?
Yeah, why would it suddenly get popular?
Isn't it voting for the person?
Well, you vote the right character out. You vote the character out. And they've been advertising. They say, like, orange, meaning Donald Trump. Orange is sus. Vote him out. So they're utilizing.
There you go.
No, but what's the point of doing it with Zoomers if they can't vote yet? That's the part I don't get.
No, but they're creating a coalition for the future, right? They want President AOC in the future. But I think it's more insidious than that, obviously. I mean, it's rather using memetics in a political context. It's like, well, it's so relatable. Hello, fellow kids. Now politicians can play video games. It's, what happened in the days of Nixon where he said, I'd like my music square. That's how I like it. Like, what happened to that? Just a straight up.
Well, wasn't also Elon Omar one of the people who was in that game as well?
Yeah.
So yeah, Elon Omar, she's interesting. Like there's a connection with Qatar. So unfortunately, we're not in a situation where we could just get a bunch of hackers to go and spam, something with the Qatari flag in order to mog her. But yeah, this is being gate kept quite well right now by a lot of these very happy-looking, smiling people, including Hassan fucking Piker. He was there, and his family, from what I understand, they're connected to the Turkish government. So already we're seeing a lot of these foreign powers, associated, just like China. Don't worry, I'm not gonna get into Buff. I'm not gonna get into Russia today, so we can leave that aside. But I'm just saying we do have a lot of these foreign powers that are also trying to influence things here. I imagine China's influencing it quite a bit right now. But where do you stand in what's gonna happen with these meme wars and these foreign powers like the Russians? Okay, I promise I wouldn't talk about the Russians, but I got to talk about Tiger Ball. You know about the Tiger Ball meme, right? MemeAnalysis. Do you know about the Tiger Balls? Okay, so the Russian government had these memes that they created to talk about how nice Russia is, and they had one of the memes with Tiger Balls. And here is a safer work one that I'm just going to post in the chat right now for those who don't know what the Tiger Balls are, with Poland behind them. And then they posted a lot of really bad ones, which please nobody posts, or else I'm going to have to edit this and nobody's going to see the chat again. But the idea here is that this tiger was presented as this, nice symbol of Russian prosperity, and then people ended up just fucking around with it because it was too clean, it was too wholesome. And I think that's kind of like why people are drawn to things like Pepe and Wojak and something like Spurdo, because these aren't like well-constructed, nice-looking, wholesome memes. They have some edge to them. So do you imagine in the future a lot of different countries are going to be utilizing memes, not just the communists here, but the communists in China, as well as other foreign powers, to subvert things here in the United States? Do you already see it happening to a large extent, and do you think it's being successful?
I think children are becoming, and hopefully will become, like bats. You know how bats are infected with like countless horrific viruses, but they're able to keep their body at such a temperature that they don't die, but they just continuously get infected? That is children and memes today. I think that you see oftentimes young people. It's like, oh, I started out as a libertarian, then I was a communist, then I was a Nazi, then I realized I was a Maoist, then I was a Leninist, and the punchline, how old are you? Oh, I'm 12. They've already been infected countless times. At some point, it's going to mean absolutely nothing. They will not be affected by any memes to a large extent. I think we are leading toward that kind of boomer detachment from politics, which honestly should have been, I don't know, it should be obvious that it's a meaningless endeavor. And young people, I think, are experiencing it in a massive way when they realize that all of the memes, all of the reading, everything they do means nothing. It does nothing. Logan is leaving, by the way.
Oh, Logan, before you go, do you have anything else that you want to say? Because I'm really happy that you got to join us, and you are one of the youngest people here, and I really appreciate you coming in. So any words of wisdom from your generation to ours?
I don't really know, honestly.
Well, what do you see generally happening for yourself, at least in this world that you're in right now?
I smoke a lot of weed.
What's your do you have any favorite strain? Indica, sativa?
Oh my fuck. Fucking Fruity Pebbles. Actually, my friend Isaiah here too. Isaiah, you list some.
Listed.
Weed strains you like.
Weed strains? Oh, bet. I know that. Oh, yeah. All right. Word. Favorites. Lemon haze. I like my granddaddy perp. Platinum kush and strawberry wafers. You ever get strawberry wafers? Get it. I'm telling you. Best
Nice.
shit you'll ever have, I promise. I'll put my life on it.
No, I appreciate that. I don't smoke weed anymore, but back when I used to smoke weed, actually I vaporized it. But when I used to do that, I really enjoyed smelling it. Like Granddaddy Purple just has such a fantastic smell, and the Fruity Pebbles smell, like it does smell literally like Fruity Pebbles. Not just like a lot of them do, especially when you squeeze it, then you really get, I know you're not supposed to squeeze it, but I squeeze it anyway back when I used to do it. So I think, and by the way, if you ever want to do it in a healthier way, I recommend vaping. I recommend getting an e-nano. Do you know what an e-nano is?
No, but my friend had a Fury too. It was like a vaporizer. It was really fucking good.
Interesting. All right, well, try out an e-nano. It's very economical too. You don't need a lot to get the effect. And also Volcano. Have you tried a Volcano?
No, I have not.
Okay, so for those who are interested, I don't know how many weed smokers we have in the chat over here.
Please, no, please do not endorse weed. This is not trad.
Well, first of all, it's very trad if you're talking about the ancient Scythians who used to smoke the weed in the bowls. I mean, using a volcano, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a Scythian way of doing it, but it is very interesting. I tried it once. So over here, this is what a volcano looks like, Geo, just so you get a better idea of it.
Oh, God.
So what you do is you put this baggie on, and then it puts all the smoke into this bag, and then you inhale this bag, and you get really, really high doing that. So
It's
yeah.
like a vaporizer grab bong.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, it's very intense, and it's a party bong, so you can have a party, bring your friends in, and utilize this volcano. Just pass the bag from one person to the other. And
Oh
just,
fuck!
Oh,
like
God.
that. Yeah. So, oh no, I'm ruining the youth here. I'm giving this, but at the same time, you're gonna smoke anyway. So I figure, why not do it in a healthier way, right? Anyway, I used to smoke a lot, vaporize a lot of weed, and work out when I was doing that as well. So anyway, Logan, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate you coming in. And everybody, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe for Logan. He is a great young man. He's got his whole life ahead of him, and so do all of us. We are not that old. In fact, I'm probably one of those Portrait of Dorian Gray type folks where I'm doing a lot of breathing techniques, and I'm going to stay,
By the way, I think I'm done, Lev.
Let's
I
see.
don't know. This is one of the fastest. Now I
Holy
just have to
moly,
pull
look
the
at
tape
that.
off.
That is beautiful.
Things
And
that I could-
are you selling it right now? Can people buy this right now?
If you donate at least, what was the last price? 112 last time?
Yes, I believe so.
If you donate at least $112 in crypto to break the rules, I will give this to you. So I know
Excellent.
everyone loves pulling off the tape. But anyways, yeah, so what were we talking about? Oh, God.
See, this is the
Got
problem with
fucking
weed.
derailed.
Weed is bad for your memory. So talking.
I want to pick a
You
fight
gotta see
with, I
the
want to
tape.
pick a
You
fight
gotta
with
see the
meme
tape. It's
analysis.
so beautiful.
Wait, what did you say?
You gotta see.
I wanted to pick a fight with meme analysis.
And what's the fight that you wanted to pick with him on?
I wanted to disagree with him on the idea that half disagree with him on the idea that getting canceled actually helps you. I don't think that's really true. Do you know who Stefan Molyneux is?
Yes, Molly meme.
Yeah, he's fucking gone.
Yeah, he's done for. He's done for.
He's fucking gone. He's done. They got rid of him, and nobody talks about him ever, which is fine. I mean, I didn't really like the guy that much. I didn't follow him, but I think it goes to show that just being canceled can actually be very effective at just completely destroying someone's ability to message. If it really is
I would say
sort of
there are
a
layers.
concerted effort across
There are
multiple
layers
platforms.
of cancellation.
Meme analysis. Say that again, please.
There are layers of cancellation. Like you can get I don't know. You can get fired from a job. Like Justin Murphy, he left his job because of his cancellation, and that just improved his situation. Whereas, of course, if you're going to get banned entirely, like Molyneux or Alex Jones, yeah, it's going to have a significantly worse effect. But at a low level, I think it's positive. Like the Justin Murphy level.
I would agree in part with meme analysis. I think that you have to have an enemy. I think that's an important thing for any kind of memeplex. Is there needs to be an outgroup, there needs to be an enemy. That's sort of a natural way of focusing effort and uniting people around a cause is having something that you're not. And I think this is one thing that makes the left so effective, potentially, is that you'll notice that despite being completely ascendant across, media, business, Silicon Valley, the administrative state, entertainment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, one thing that the left is very effective at is creating the pretense that they are kind of always on the cusp of losing the battle for the culture. There always has to be this kind of this pretense that they're oppressed somehow and that they're being controversial. And you'll notice this play out in various different ways. I mean, one thing that you might have noticed watching the Democratic debates earlier in the year was Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke would have this sort of affect where he would really like to swear. He would swear on the debate stage. Andrew Yang did this a little bit too. And this was the pretense here was that this was a very controversial thing to do. Going on the debate stage and say, yeah, we're gonna take your fucking guns. Everyone is supposed to go, oh, he said fuck on the debate stage. This is so controversial. Of course, in the year 2020, nobody cares if you use vulgarity on the debate stage. What would have been really controversial, of course, would have been if Beto O'Rourke had done something like refer to Andrew Yang as, I don't know, my yellow friend, something like that. That would have really gotten Beto O'Rourke canceled. That would have been very controversial. But Beto O'Rourke has to do this faux controversy where he swears in a way that's not really controversial, that doesn't really get him pushback, but which is just kind of a theatrical, controversial play enough that people can think they're in the midst of a battle and they can get the thrill of being in a battle. And that's a drug. That's something that people get addicted to. And that's something that really helps unite people around a memeplex. So I agree with MemeAnalysis that you need to have the pretense of an enemy. But I think that as long as you can maintain the pretense, that enemy should be as weak as possible. You don't actually want someone with power to be pushing back against you, because if they get out to cancel you like Stefan Molyneux or Alex Jones,
your sound disappeared at the last moment. I don't know if you wanted to finish the sentence, but would you have a response to that?
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, if they get to you and cancel you like they did Stefan Molyneux or Alex Jones or something, you're fucking done. There's no coming back from that. That's not going to help you. You want weak enemies that you can constantly, the Harlem Globetrotters. This is a Mulbuggian analogy. The Harlem Globetrotters need the Washington Generals to constantly beat, but they still need an enemy that they're going to fight. It's just they need to constantly win. That's kind of the ideal situation to be in. It's not having no enemies to fight at all. It's having an enemy that you can constantly beat over and over again, but always have the audience suspend their disbelief that there's an actual competition happening.
I think it would be a mistake to assume that it is a left-wing or right-wing victory either way. It is ultimately a victory of power over those who have no power. You see young Marxists and you see young fascists, and both are some of the most neurotic people that have probably ever lived, even more so than Victorian women. They are barely sentient, like I was talking about. They are bats. They're animated bags of viruses. Their bodies are contorted according to the fiction that they witness. So yes, I would agree. There's an illusion of competition, but I would really disagree that it's a left victory by any means, or even if it was, that it would meaningfully last. I don't think if you look at the world, you see anything discernibly left wing in prominent in anything prominent. I mean, I think what you might mean is Christianity. You might mean Christianity has overtaken it all. Whereas what we need to move toward is something more Nietzschean. But I really would struggle to say that it is left or right. I think it is essentially spiritual, but both the left and the right are primarily Christian.
How would you say Christianity is taken over? I think a response to that some people may give would be Christianity has been so cucked today, it's not that traditional anymore. Would you say that that's a different way of looking at Christianity than what you may be implying?
That's the lot. People that think that Christianity has been cucked, they are ones who completely misunderstand Christianity. The point of Christianity is what they despise about it today. When you hear people who are, oh, they're trad, they're traditional, they are they enjoy the pagan elements of Christianity. They despise the Christian elements of Christianity. Nietzsche says the very earliest Christian sentiments are that of mutual aid, of burying the dead, of helping the sick. That is Christianity. It's not this kind of like, we're gonna do what God wills. You know, it's all about God. It's all about it's the church. None of that really matters. That was all aesthetics to maintain a moral power, a power over people through morality and not through structures.
What Kashi's saying though is not necessarily about religion. What he's talking about with the whole left wing thing is all the people that hold institutional power, like all the people who run the companies, like Twitter, Facebook, Discord, all of them. If you hold a certain political view, which is traditionally to the right of center, you're going to be targeted and you're going to be canceled. And I don't mean canceled as in like your account's disabled or you're muted, you know, something simple like that. He's talking about to the point, like, I'm sure he knows the people who I'm referring to, but we know at least a dozen people who have had the point where their PayPal is disabled. And, you know, the traditional thing is like, oh, well, if you don't like your gaming service, you know, use a different one. If you don't like the politics of this person, you know, support someone else. But if it's at the point where it's like, oh, well, if you don't like how these people do banking, then choose a different one. But if all of the banks are of a certain agreement, like a certain monopoly of political ideas, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to have an online payment service. You're essentially, like you said, is going to be completely canceled. Like you literally cannot pass go. You can't collect $200. None of that shit.
Are far left Marxists running the oil companies? Are far left Marxists running, Lockheed Martin? No, they're not.
No, we're not talking about them though.
Yeah, but we're talking about power. When we talk about politics and power, of course, social media has some sway, but what really has sway is power and money. I think it's really silly to think the left has taken over it all because they have entertainment. Entertainment that's obviously it's fading in effectiveness. It's fading in power. It's neurotic to think so. It's neurotic to think, oh, these people are, they're trying to destroy us. Like, it's silly. There's so much power at both fields that is interacting. It might be enjoyable. It might be fun to think, we are rebelling against this massive ideological power. But we're still because you're playing the same game. No, when that you say, they are always saying, oh, we're almost at the edge of destruction. We're in complete power, but we're almost at the edge of destruction. They would say the same exact thing about you, that you have the government, you have the military, you have the oil companies and so on. And you are the ones who are impeding on the rights of these companies to do what they want with their platform. Both arguments can be made, and I think both come from a point of neurotic dispositions that are not really dealing with
MemeAnalysis, your camera went out, your sound went out, but let's get a response to that. There is something wrong with your audio as well. Metaphor Man, would you have a response to that? Because it seems like both audios are experiencing problems. I am relying on you, you beautiful bird person.
Now, I mean, my whole point wasn't about like global powers and hegemonies and shit. I'm talking about like the whole entire point of this stream is memetic culture and who controls the entertainment, especially earlier this year when the COVID lockdown started, this is all people did. So to say the entertainment industry or social media was waning, that was your only exposure. You couldn't go out in public for more than however long. You couldn't stand next to people. You couldn't have conversations anymore. Everything shifted into the online world. So to say that it's not a huge part of our culture or even, what we're talking about, that's intellectually dishonest.
No, I mean, MGM and Warner Brothers and Disney are fading. And I think it's pretty obvious that the internet does have a pretty strong tilt towards the extreme, which is certainly something that those businesses I was talking about earlier would not. They are not nearly as extreme. So I'm not saying social media has fallen. I'm just saying the entertainment industry, the ones that make movies and TV, are beginning to fall. It's extremist young people that are ascendant.
And by the way, we have some good news. The chat is back. I don't know how I did it. I went into OBS. I just pressed the same damn thing I pressed before. And here we go. We finally have chat back with us. I hope it's going to be here to stay. But the one thing that I would say I'm concerned about, though, is when we're talking about all these critical race theory classes and all these things being taught in the Ivy Leagues, I'm not sure how far of a connection there is between the people who are graduating schools right now and being in positions of power, not just of these entertainment centers that, like you, I think rightfully said, are going the way of the dodo in comparison to this decentralized content that a lot of people are gravitating towards. But at the same time, they still have power over things like think tanks that give certain advice out to the United Nations, to other politicians, as far as what policy to set. So when it comes to that part of it, and I know this is kind of going a bit beyond the meme discussion, but I am curious of what your thoughts are on the whole think tanks aspect. Is this a giant, or is this, is this a mountain, or is this a molehill?
We're witnessing the Gotterdammerung of old world morality. It might be trying desperately to cling on through those, through that legislature and through those social, through these social expressions. But no, I think it's inevitably going to fall, and new forms are rising, and will rise. So no, I don't think, no matter how much power is put toward these old dying gods, that they're going to survive.
Interesting. And would everybody else agree with that, or no? Metaphor Man, Geo, would any of you guys have anything contrary to say? Kashiwagi. Well, go with Geo first.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, Kashiwagi, you go first.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake to do as MemeAnalysis is to kind of narrowly define the left as merely orthodox Marxist economics. When I talk about the left, when Shit Biscuit Metaphor Man talks about the left, when most of us talk about the left colloquially, what we're referring to is this kind of new progressive religion. And it does not have a primarily economic focus. That's a notable feature of it. But it's absolutely ascendant within corporations and the military. I mean, I'm not really sure what he's talking about, saying that the right controls these institutions. Browse, my friend, at woke capitals. That's at woke capital, CAPITAL. Browse, my friend, woke capitals Twitter timeline, and you'll see example after example after example of every mega corporation in the world posting progressive memes, progressive ideology, progressive memes, progressive memetics all over their timeline constantly. They're wholly bought into this.
I would say maybe.
Military
Well, I would
bought into this. They do trainings on this. They issue statements. They issue statements to themselves, lining all the ducks up in a row for a coup if Trump tries to do something to stop the riots.
How much is all of this humoring, though? Like one aspect that I think I may have noticed with the gun rally, the anti-gun rally that was going on with Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg, is that it seemed to me like the elites were putting on a show to give baby their bottle and then nothing really came of that as far as any sweeping gun reform legislation. So in a way, I think that they're using the extreme leftists as muscle to, get elected, and then they would kind of keep them on a short leash. At least that's the idea that I get when I actually talk with a lot of people who are like people who live in the Upper West Side, for example, who, when the homeless were brought in there, they didn't want the homeless to be on the fucking Upper West Side, so they sued the city. I don't think these are the people who are going to want to live in a Maoist Chinese country. I don't know.
It's mistaking masks and aesthetics for policy. Woke is a mask that corporations put on to maintain the public. If the public disposition was any given idea, they would be engaging in it. I think it's ridiculous to think this company posted something woke, therefore it is woke, when every single but everything this hand is doing is the exact opposite. Which one's the real one? If you're on the internet, of course, it's the one that you see because you're living in a world of visuals. But if the people who invest, the people who are interested in that sort of thing, realize that this hand matters. That's why Elon Musk is doing so well. He has mastered this hand and is able to manipulate Tesla stock prices accordingly. And it's because people, again, have forgotten what's real. This is the reality. It's the show that's always real, but it's never, ever about the show. It's always about what the hand is doing behind the back.
Kashiwagi.
Well, I would just tell MemeAnalysis to I would just say, ask of MemeAnalysis. You started out this conversation talking about just how significant symbols and memes actually are. I would ask you why the most prominent symbols and memes of the left that are plainly ascendant right now aren't of incredibly substantial importance. I mean, why isn't that something to focus? I mean, you seem now to be kind of dismissing this as merely a show, but I think the premise of this discussion in a lot of ways is that the show is more real than almost anything else.
Christians don't need to put on mock crucifixions. We don't need martyrs anymore because everybody wears the cross. I think that's what it comes down to. It might be in vogue right now. So yes, symbolically, they don't need to have anything that's more effective than decor.
I would disagree. I would say that the absence of continuous martyrdom and public Christian ritual is a sign of the weakness of that form of religion. I would say that the perpetual parade of Black Lives Matter martyrs, for instance, is a sign of the strength of that religion. The fact that you see George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, all of these figures supplanting historically the role of Christian martyrs points to the strength of one memeplex as opposed to the other, not the other way around. I would say the presence of martyrs shows the strength.
I completely disagree. It's one of the major points that Crowley makes. All that is done well is done easily and done unconsciously. It's not done with this, massive show. Anything that has a massive show is desperate for energy. It needs energy to go on. When it's subtle, it's fine. And so, no, I don't think that the lack of martyrs is the weakness of Christianity. That is just how powerful it is. It doesn't even need to bother. And that's where we're at. We don't even need to bother going to church to be real Christians because secular humanism is so prevalent. Why bother with the illusions? The morality has won.
I think that the worry, one potential worry that you might have, Lev, is that we're straying from the original focus of this discussion. I just wanted to lampshade that a little bit and suggest that actually this is in many ways the heart of the discussion, because what we really are discussing right now is memetic strength and memetic reproduction and the mechanisms of that. And I think we're coming to a kind of fundamental disagreement over it here right now. I think that memeplexes and ideology are reproduced through ritual. And, whether progressivism, secular humanism, whatever you want to call it, is Christianity, that's open to debate. I'm not sure that I would contest it. I think that there's a good point to be made about progressivism as ultimately a Christian heresy. Some people trace that back to just Protestantism and not Christianity as such. Others would take it farther than that. I don't necessarily have a dog in that fight. I think it's an interesting discussion. But regardless of what you think about that, I think that the difference between something like progressivism, whether it's a Christian heresy or not, and more traditional Christian forms, really does have a lot to do with whose rituals are being played out constantly in the streets now. And I really do think that's strength, because I think that ritual and participation is a huge part of how memes reproduce themselves. I think that the vitality of a lot of 4chan memes and so on is the very fact that people participate in the rituals themselves, that fact that people identify with Wojak, the fact that people feel intimately in this sort of psychological space of a Wojak or a Pepe. They can identify with that in a much more powerful way than they can with all sorts of Christian icons. And the same really goes for figures like George Floyd, who very much are secular martyrs. And
I wouldn't say secular exactly.
Much more for than they.
I wouldn't say secular, just because we had
No.
Drew Arnold on, and he was talking about how BLM was co-opted, and how this BLM that's presented to us actually has a lot of spiritual aspects having to do with the Ifa, the African Ifa religion, where they're using the say their names type chants in order to bring back the fallen black people who were killed. As like spiritual energy that they could then use to redirect it to make themselves stronger. That was his take on the BLM movement,
Yes,
but you could look at the founders and they do practice this religion.
There's a very interesting study to be done there, which it's underexplored, frankly, but it is something that many other people have pointed to. Something Steve Saylor discusses a lot is this idea of implicit bias as sort of an inherited form of sympathetic magic, where the idea is that if your neighbor in all sorts of animist religions, maybe if your neighbor thinks bad thoughts about you, that's casting a spell on you in some way. And so purging people of implicit bias can be traced back to this kind of African animist tradition. I don't know if that's completely correct. I think that the sort of Black Lives Matter movement is just one part of a much larger religious meme.
Yeah, but if I may jump off, because
go for it. And Gio, you got to defend Christianity now. It's all on your shoulders.
Oh, that's right. I was listening to a bit. I had to go away for a second. No, but not to because obviously I value meme analysis input. I think I would disagree with to play devil's advocate. I think that I get what meme analysis is saying, certainly with the Nietzschean or the Dionysian aspect against the largely the memetic background of a lot of current discourse largely is, I would say, post-Christian. Certainly, and like in Kashwagi goes, I agree with as well. This is like more of a more Buggian point, like the secular, ultra Calvinism, all that stuff, right? If you've read Unqualified Reservations. But it is largely true that a lot of our understanding is deeply rooted within the Christian context. But where I disagree with meme analysis, I would say that traditionalist Christianity, even though a lot of it, to humble myself, a lot of it, let's face it, is a fucking meme. And a lot of 19-year-olds that just converted the other week, they're posting Dias Volta stuff, and a lot of it's the aesthetics of it. But I do believe that Christianity has been fundamentally robbed of its content within modernity when it becomes profaned and what the perennialists would call the counter-initiation, where it's lowered to the level of materiality. It's lowered and inverted into the profane instead of the sacred. But I do think, but I would agree with me analysis that it largely is a question of power, and it's rather the discourses and the origins of, for example, woke capital, what we're talking about, the memetic background of woke capital. It could have went either way, but it's just that certain developments within modernity itself has led to certain popular discourses winning out. but I would say that it is a spiritual warfare that we're engaging in, and memes largely are the like guerrilla, IRA, Taliban, Mujahideen version of this memetic warfare that we're engaging in, and it's largely meme culture is in some ways largely a product of the minoritarian and the psychic spiritual terrorist, but at the same time it's there's a liberation within meme culture, but at the same time we have to not discount the reality that a lot of these memes are being controlled or they're being guided into certain avenues that are advantageous to whatever power structure is present at the moment. And there's, I guarantee you there's fucking people at Langley or MI6 or wherever, intelligence agencies that are doing studies on memes and have psychologists and psychiatrists and sociologists that are doing like Edward Bernazian type studies. I mean, we have literature on it. We have that book by, she was also canceled, by the way, Angela Nagel, Kill All Normies. Hopefully she can come on the show. But I get what MemeAnalysis is saying. There's going on. Although as someone who has a predilection towards traditional Christianity.
Gio, now you're back. You're back.
Yeah. Oh, when did I cut off? What was I saying?
So you were talking about the predilection of traditional Christianity, and that's where you cut
off.
Yeah,
I would disagree with that. We still live within that epoch. I think that traditional Christianity is much more than merely the aesthetics of it. But at the same time, I do get the point, because if we look at the representation of it online and the memes that are shared, it is largely an aesthetic phenomenon. Not to say that's wrong, because to me, the aesthetic is like the virtual. It's the potentiality into the actual. The aesthetic has consumed the real, and meme culture is indicative of that fundamental thesis that the aesthetic and the virtual has consumed in toto the real. So I don't know what you guys would make of that. Maybe I'm just being a fucking sued, but I don't know. MemeAnalysis, what do you think of that?
So I have to go in a second, but what I will say overall, I think to clarify, the most powerful belief in anything is based in the deathbed confession, or when you feel you're going to die, when you feel you've been gravely wounded and you are praying to God and begging for forgiveness. That is the true belief. Every single action taken by somebody who's wearing the cross, that is Christianity. That's the true belief. It's not the people who are flagellating themselves and the people preaching on the streets. So what I have to say, appearances are not always what they seem. Memes matter, but so do the big ones, the old ones, and not just the current playing with those things. Thank you for having me on. I had a very good time.
Thank you, MemeAnalysis. I hope you come
back.
Come
back again, please.
I will. All right. So
nice to talk with you, MemeAnalysis.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk with you too.
So there was something that was brought up on my Twitter, and I'm trying to find the post, but it talked about how when Reddit back in 2013 did a analysis of where most of the Reddit posts were coming from, they tracked it to Elgin Air Force Base in Florida. So
there you go.
There you go. All that kind
Reddit
of
is part of the military-industrial complex, and we all know that now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sort of torn between these two different arguments here. So what Kashiwagi was talking about and what MemeAnalysis was talking about, I can kind of see both things. I don't want to be a radical centrist over here, but it's like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I only like the fact that we, regardless of however many things we disagree on, we do see a lot of this, very gross, very like, using the situation to pretend to be, caring about people. And we see so many people out there like that who want to put on this mask of, I'm so caring, what about all these poor people, and you're such a bigot. And we see the hypocrisy behind that. And regardless of what's going to happen in the future, like a meteor may hit us for all I know. So regardless of that, the choices that we make right now in standing up for our beliefs, I think that's something that's going to define us. Look at that. Look at that beautiful painting. I'm going to make it bigger for everybody. Spotlight. Gondola. $112. You guys could purchase it right now, either through our Bitcoin, where you can go to, I have it right here, you can go to Cointree/breaktherules, or you can go to streamlabs.com/breaktherules. Either way, that is how you can purchase it. So, Metaphor Man.
Guys, by the way, what do
Yeah.
you guys think of it? Did I do? I mean, it was very quick compared to the other paintings I've done, but
Show it again. Show it again.
Yes.
I want to take another look.
yeah, sure.
It's very beautiful. Here we go. I'm going to make it bigger again.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It's so peaceful.
Thank you.
It's very autumnal.
It is autumnal. It's from Algonquin Park, which is about a few hours away from where I am at. But the great group of 7 painters, like Tom Thompson, one of my favorite painters of all time. As a Canadian artist, we live in the shadows of the group of 7. But he mysteriously disappeared in Algonquin Park. And I told this on the stream before, where I had a dream that I found his boat and I found his corpse. And I don't know what mean, but I think, like, to get back into what we're saying, I mean, tonight is the second debate, if I recall.
Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. So I think, like, we're going to see creations of various memes like the last debate in real time. And I think this is what the sort of the fabric and the sinuous texture of the internet largely now is memes. And I feel that the hyperreality, the epoch that we're living in, this is what I mean by we're able to grasp the common reality in real time. Almost like you could say it's Hegelian, like absolute spirit seeing itself, blah, blah, blah. But it's more of like the fact that we can grasp and we can take hold of memes. I mean, we have people in this chat right now who are responsible for various memes and who have created various lasting memes. We've had people on the show that we know that have made important contributions to meme culture. But meme culture, I would even say, it's culture now. It's become culture. And this is where I would defend MemeAnalysis. I would say that as much as the culture industry, people like, watching Netflix during the lockdowns and being a human jellyfish, I did see this uptick within meme culture, within online discourse, because people, they're going to, migrate to the places that we're at. I mean, there's people that we know that have been on the show that I truly feel that there will be a second wave of people that are coming that are going to, especially if Trump gets elected again, there will be new people coming in. There will be Zoomers who are going to come into these online spheres. And there are people who are going to be prolific posters that are going to have such an influence. I think Kashiwagi is one of them, by the way. Not to shout him out, but I already see the sort of the waning of the old guard. I'm not going to name names. But I see that certain people are going by the wayside, and a new crop of people are going to come. New blood is going to come. Hopefully, and hopefully we can all make shekels on it. Hopefully, I can grift and I could, make amends. I do think that there's going to be newer, more sophisticated styles of memeing. There will be more IRL performances of memes that aren't simply going to be low-grade trolling or saying that you're going to complete a certain. Never mind. But I do think that there will be people that will be born into. There will be Zoomers who will be born into awareness of meme culture, and who knows if that's going to affect the way they think about things like culture and politics and religion. It's already happening, and it took us, like, older millennials later to the party to truly pioneer meme culture. But I think with Zoomers, they have such a different experience of it. They have more of an immediate intuitive awareness of memetics that us millennials, we don't really, we're atrophied in that, that sense, because we're so busy talking about our fucking childhoods when we didn't have, computers. I don't know. I'm just riffing. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, before we keep going, I want to say we're going to have coming in soon Poe's Law. He's going to be joining us, so that's going to be very exciting.
Nice.
I'm very happy he's going to be able to join us.
It got a little heated last time he was on because we had that Mr. Girl guy on, but
man,
I'm
Mr.
sure it'll be
Girl.
better.
Don't remind me. That one's still like our least liked and our most viewed of all time. Like, if you go there, the ratio is just like, I don't even want to talk about it. But anyway, Kashiwagi.
Well, I appreciate the shout out from Gio. Thank you very much for that, Gio. I love Gio's art as well. So in turn, likewise. But I will say, I don't know.
We just had to suck each other's dicks right on screen.
Just suck each other's dicks a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Hey, mutuality. That's important. I will say though, I worry a little bit. I feel like the creative energy here is not what it was. Maybe Fit Biscuit can say a little bit more about that as well. But I've definitely felt like for the past few years, we've been chasing kind of the dragon of memetic energy, going back to something like 2014, 2015, 2016, where there was really, I mean, the meme magic back then was something real. It was in the air. I mean, that is a meme in itself. But you if you were there, I mean, you felt it. It was.
Well, I was high during that
else.
time. Like during those years, those were the years that I was smoking weed. And when I was looking at 4chan poll on 2016 when Trump got elected, I was comparing the spirit that was going on 4chan versus the spirit of all the people outside. When I was going outside, I was really high, and I just saw everybody was so fucking depressed on the subway.
Well, being
or
in
just
New York, I mean,
yes, but it's like they were like a family member of theirs died. You know, it was just they took it so much, and that's why I think that maybe a lot of the people who are online right now, even if they should start following, I think, the lead of people like Serpent Mound as far as, getting much more vitalistic in order to survive anything that may be coming along. At the same time, I think that they have a healthiness, or they have, I don't know if it's like the bad thing that MemeAnalysis mentioned, but I think that they can withstand this isolation that we're in right now with COVID-19, and they are able to withstand a lot of this propaganda that's being flung at people that turn people into receptacles of information that they just vomit out as soon as it's put in their head.
Wireheads.
Exactly, wireheads. And I think that
And by the way, you just stole my thesis that I'm going to write about Giorgio Agamben's take on the pandemic. So, well, but don't worry, I won't. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I predict a new cyber step warrior class of NEETs and incels who are going to come about, and they're perfectly adapted to global continuous lockdowns and sheltering themselves psychically and spiritually from the clown hell world, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know, that's kind of like a fucking self-indulgent, like.
No, but it's
yeah.
Everybody look out for that article, which I'm sure is going to be amazing, and I'm going to share it everywhere. But I think, Gio, you're right on the money here. I don't know, Metaphor Man, do you see something like this happening where the people who did spend a lot of time online getting used to a lot of these different messages, like I was talking before, like they were a socialist, then they became a Nazi, then they became a this and that. Like, do you notice that they may be healthier in the long run, where they're going to be more resilient to a lot of the propaganda, and they'll be able to call it out much more in the real world if they have enough balls to do so eventually?
Those types of people who get to like the extreme fringe sides of things, I don't know, they get kind of illusioned with this idea that they're kind of like we were talking about the 2016 thing about how, there was Hillary was going to win, 90% chance. All the polls were saying there's no fucking way that Trump is even going to get a couple of states. It was just the reason why it was so such a like why the entire movement was so like a underdog rooting for the sports team that probably wasn't going to win, but they win at the end of the movie. Like you were secretly rooting for them. But as far as like to this day, like how those people have progressed since then, I think a lot of people were expecting a lot more to happen, because when everyone was memeing about the election, they were saying like, God Emperor, he's going to abolish term limits. He's going to be ruling until the 2040s, and then his children are going to rule. And there's a lot of energy in that sense. But throughout all the years of like him trying to get stuff done versus other people trying to stop it, and the bureaucracy, what always happens after an election, has really got people believing that nothing will change. Obviously the energy is completely different, now versus the other years, because it was like Hillary was just this insurmountable mountain that no one was able to beat, and then he beat her. It was like, oh, that, you know, everything's going to change now that the swamp is going to get drained. And now we're 4 years later, and he's fired his entire cabinet 3 times over, you know, when we were promised that we're going to have these revolutionary sort of people in his cabinet. So the energy is definitely different. I know that people still have this idea in their head that, you know, maybe this next 4 years will be different now that the Senate numbers are different, now that all these bills are in place. But I don't know. I don't personally think anything's going to change too much. I think it's more of like a stay of execution if he gets elected.
Well, not to go too off the meme subject, but what would you say is the worst case scenario? Like, people are talking about, like, oh, if Biden gets elected, then they're going to start all these deals with China. China's going to come in here. They're going to fuck things up. I don't know how likely a lot of these things are. I just think government by its nature is always going to want to do 500 things and only do a few, and those things is just going to do really, really badly. So, I don't know.
I think honestly they're going to suffer the same fate. If Biden does get elected, it's going to be similar to what happened with when Trump got elected. You know, everyone's talking about how he's going to charge Trump with treason. Everyone and, you know, their mother's going to be thrown in jail, and that's essentially what Trump promised as well with Hillary and Obama and all them about the election tampering and wiretapping him, and nothing has happened. So most of it is just, you know, posturing. So I guess in this sense, what people would say is worst case scenario, not much will change. There's still a majority in the Senate. So if they do try to pass things, it's going to go through the same process that it is now. Because right now, Republicans have the presidency and they have the Senate. But the House is like the one house of government that, or one branch of government rather, that isn't controlled. And then it would just be flip-flop. The president would be Democrat, the House would still be Democrat, and then we'd have the majority in Senate.
And what about yeah?
Well, no, I think that if Trump, you know, I was talking to a friend who wouldn't want me to mention his name. We were talking last night about the possibility of Trump losing, and I think that if that happens, it certainly would knock the wind out of the sails for a lot of us. I think that any sort of like American century, like, you know, America going out of the grips of, you know, what we call modernity or clown world or whatnot, any sort of project that could potentially give us a respite from the inevitable, whether it's a demographic shift or whether it's global, you know, basically North America becoming a third world shithole. I think that Trump maybe would give us a temporary relief from that. But I would agree with Ship Biscuit. I don't really see a dramatic change in the way of the order of things itself, unless, I don't know, Trump goes after the 500 names or something like that. I even still, I think that there's systems in place that would prevent any sort of monumental whatever you would want to call a nationalistic change going on. But I do think that if Trump loses, then we're pretty much all fucked. I mean, Biden would probably give the tech companies free reign to basically do to us what they did to Stefan and Alex Jones. And the internet will become, as the great Nobody TM said once, the internet would become corralled into becoming much more neater, and certain forums will go away, and certain ability to exchange ideas and share information would basically go away. And we really need to invest in saving as much content as possible right now. But I do feel that the problem that we all have is that we're not thinking long term. And again, this is inherently the problem with the guerrilla warfare of memetics in general, because it's very evanescent, it's very short term, it's very in the moment, it's very much an evolution of a meme that's happening now. And the problem with riding a wave like meme magic with Trump is that we're not really thinking about like 15 to 20 years down the road or a century down the road, like what our grandchildren, well, if some of us are lucky enough to have grandchildren, you know,
we all will, goddammit, except for the anti-natalists. So
the only way we could do it is if Trump institute what I call the incel relief program, where they bring in Latina and MENA QTs to give to the incels. Never mind. I'll say no more. But basically,
Universal
I
basic
think
girlfriend.
universal basic girlfriend, exactly. So I think that the problem is that we're not thinking long term, and we're not thinking about what's going to happen after Trump, because Trump is such a powerful memetic force that all of the attention and energy, unless like some fucking crazy QAnon shit is true, that they've planned this stuff out for the decades. I'm skeptical of that. I think that it's up to us to lay the groundwork. And me as an artist, the only thing I could really offer people is the creation of new aesthetic movements that are going to become the foundations of the images of thought that are going to bring us into the future. And I don't know.
But there is something to that. But
yeah.
before I get into that, Caustic, one of our great patrons, Caustic, by the way, we have so many goodies to offer the patrons. If you become a $20 patron, patreon.com/breaktherules. Link is in the description, and I'm going to post it as well. Then as a patron, you're going to get an exquisite print from Geo, and this is a limited time offer, $20. It's going to rise to $30 starting in November. So you got to get in on this deal real quick. But anyway, Caustic is saying they're arresting political figureheads in Greece for being right-wing. Now, I don't know if he's talking about like the Golden Dawn Party. The only thing I'd say is that far as optics go, the logo of the Golden Dawn Party that they ended up going with, it does look like a swastika. Let's be honest here. Like, I don't know if that's the party we're talking about here, but all I know is that party, like the way that the image of that party is to people who are outside of Greece.
Yeah, but the thing is, the Golden Dawn, like, the problem is things that work in the European Nouveau Droit, the New Right, they simply won't work in North America. In Europe, for some crazy reason, they have an ability to organize. So, for example, the Golden Dawn, because Antifa, this is what I hear, but there's a lot of problems I have with European identitarianism. Certain figureheads, I think as a whole, they have a better capacity to organize. So, for example, the Golden Dawn, they organize protection forces against Antifa attacks, and they have like guard people in certain neighborhoods, or they protect their gyms. They're a lot of these identitarian movements.
Gio, your sound.
So I don't know why it's cutting out.
You were talking about Antifa, and then you started to cut out.
Yeah, they have like protection against Antifa people, and they're really centered around the gyms. Like in Russia, they do this, where they protect each other. I think that any real life organizing in North America after Charlottesville is kind of done for. I don't know, unless things change.
I think naturally what may happen, like if things get real bad as far as our debt is going. I mean, our debt is already really high, but at a point where the government's not going to be able to provide enough welfare to people. Like if that's the point that we're getting to, I think that people who are going to have common sense, who have like-minded ways of living, they would kind of band together and they would protect each other, and some of the richer people would hire private police, other people would just start their own paramilitary force to protect themselves in the event that shit hits the fan. That's what I see happening, and I don't think that means that they're going to be, like, it's not going to be a third world necessarily. I mean, look at, for example, in Mexico, where you have the Mormon families, like you have the LeBarons and the Romneys and so on. It looks kind of like an American suburb is in the middle of Mexico. So I think that, I mean, this is like the worst case scenario. Even if there would be areas of lawlessness, there still may be able to be areas of like me and you, Geo, and Metaphor Man, so I can never say your name correctly, my apologies, Kashiwagi. We are all maybe going to live in the same compound, and we're going to have, a lot of fun things that we can do together,
Hopefully we don't get Waco'd either, right? Like, that's the,
Yeah, but at that point, like, if we're already talking about that scenario, then there's going to be a lot of mini Wacos everywhere at that point. So, again, I don't really want things to go that way. Hopefully they're not going to get that way. Like, I want America... I want America to be a strong world power, again, for the sake of being able to defend certain countries that cannot defend themselves against other kind of tyranny. I don't want to get off the subject. Let's go talk about Spurto Sparte. This is someone that I wanted to talk about since the very beginning. I'm sure all you guys are familiar with Pedo Bear, and now they've resurrected Pedo Bear for Joe Biden's campaign, Bear with Biden, colored him blue. So Pedo Bear had a bit of a resurrection, but mostly people forgot about Pedo Bear. Like, Pedo Bear was there in the very beginning of 4chan lore, then he kind of faded away, and with that came Spurdo Sparde from the, what was it, what's that nice-looking country with the bathhouses?
Finland?
Finland, that's it. So yeah. So when it comes to that evolution of Pedo Bear, well, first it was Kuma on 2channel, then it was Pedo Bear, then it was Spurdo Sparde, and now it's evolved into like La American Bear and into like the patriotic bear that I also had in the thumbnail.
Free.
Yes, and also of course into Gondola. So Gio, what do you see in the transformation that's occurred from Pedo Bear to all these other forms, and what exactly is going on there?
I don't know. Like really quickly to get other people on this subject. I think that certainly, well, Gondola is representative of sort of a new sincerity and sort of like an anti-meme in that it's not for a specific purpose. It's more of a purely aesthetic meme. But I feel that Spurl memes, they have a particular sort of like flavor to them that they embody sort of like the babyish, like what the fug sort of memetics that are going on that are very popular on the internet. And there's almost like a sort of innocence to them, like especially Gondola. Like Pedo Bear is sort of like it's a dead meme because the Pedo Bear stuff has like sort of become like popular consciousness to the point where like actual horrific real world realities are being memed on, like fucking Epstein didn't kill himself. And so I feel that it's very, yeah, like there again, it's a meme template that has a very strange origin. But Gondola is sort of like just hanging out. He's sort of like the respite from the chaos of other memes. It's really strange. I don't know.
There's a nice Christmas image where there's even a cat there, like in the profile, and Gondola's somewhere up in the attic, and Pepe there, and Wojak's there.
Yeah.
That's a very comfy looking image. But when it comes, I don't know, like when it comes to this kind of evolution, Kashiwagi, what do you think is going on here?
For Pedo Bear to Spurdo? I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I don't know what the history of all that is. Honestly, Spurdo was always a little bit of a mystery to me. I mean, they've always had these weird Finland things. I don't know. I've never gotten the Finland memes. I've never understood it. But you know what it does remind me of is do you guys know the Gru? Do you remember the Gru?
Oh, I think I remember the Gru.
The
Like
Gru, Gru
like
the
Joe
Wanderer. Is that a fantasy comic book? No, that's
let me
something.
see.
The Gru. Yeah, I don't know what the Gru is. All I
Like
know
you,
is
like you have been eaten by a Gru.
I have no
You
idea what
remember
this.
this?
No, have been eaten by a
Google,
Gru.
you have been eaten by a GRUE.
Okay, so I see over here, eaten by a Gru. A brief history. Okay. What does it say here? Zork is a text-based video game, a genre also known as interactive fiction, whose defining feature is the absence of typical video game graphics. Instead, the game's environments and actions you take are described for you. For example, the first line of Zork is, "You are standing in an open field west of a White House with a bordered front door. There is a small mailbox here. Using a series of simple commands, you direct the main character to do something like open mailbox, to which the game will reply. Opening the small mailbox reveals a leaflet. Naturally, you would take the leaflet, read the leaflet, and maybe walk east to get to the house. The story unfolds from there as you collect items like a sword, lantern, rope, etc., before entering a vast underground cave where you'll face enemies inspired by the Lord of the Rings like elves, trolls, and the darkness lurking Gru." There we go. So that is the origin of the Gru.
Yeah. And I mean, this is sort of like it's like a text adventure style thing, and now they're doing these with GPT-3. But this was always associated with Domo-kun. Do you know
Oh,
Domo-kun?
I love Domo-kun. In fact, one of my favorite games growing up on Newgrounds was Domo-kun's Angry Smash Fest, where he was fighting the Powerpuff Girls, and then they took this guy and the Powerpuff Girls.
This is some fucking nerd shit.
They had their dragon. Let's see if I could even find it. I'm gonna put it on the screen. They had their dragon boss, and they had the Penguin Armada. That one was one of my favorites. But yeah.
Domo-kun kind of, I think Domo-kun was maybe the original one that I'd seen of all of these, and I've never sort of escaped the feeling that either Pepe or Spurdo has Domo-kun as something.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because Domo-kun is Japanese, and Pepe was a direct copy of Kuma from 4chan, and Kuma means bear. And it's a very similar style of like this very simplistic, cute style of like these round black eyes. You could see Domo-kun over there. He's sweeping. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in fact, I'm going to show you what Kuma the bear looks like. And it is very, very similar to Pepe. So here is an image of Kuma. For those who don't remember, this is what he looks like. And Kuma, he was not a pedophilic bear. I think he was just like, I don't really know what personality he had. I think like he liked the ladies, but that was it. And the Japanese were using a lot of these memes on 2channel as a way of taking off the mask. Because that's the other interesting thing about Chan culture. It was inspired by 2channel, which was, in a way, Japanese people being able to rest and say whatever was on their minds, which they couldn't really do in polite society. And I'm not really sure what exactly it's called, but the Japanese, they do have like these two sides to them, where there's like the inner, but then there's this outer mask layer that you would put on for the sake of being like at one with the rest of society's hive mind, so nobody would...
Mensu, they call it, yep.
Yeah. And you were like, you have a Japanese figure on your avatar here, like some kind of an Oni demon. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Oh, well,
that's a wood block, right? That's a wood print.
Yeah, it's an ukiyo-e. It's a hokusai. He's the most famous woodblock artist. So maybe it's a little bit of a basic bitch ukiyo-e take. I don't know. Gio might know more about it than I do. I don't know if he's an expert in it.
It comes from No Theater, and it's the basic character of the ghoul, if I recall. It's got like a significance in Japanese mythos. Yeah.
Interesting.
Again, you could buy one of my ukiyo prints.
Yes, or you could become a patron, $20.
Have you done woodblock?
Yeah, wait, let me actually, I'll pull it up for you.
Put the video in. Gio sent me a great video that I'm going to turn into, using my magical powers of editing, into a speed-through promotion for Gio's prints. But here we go. I am going to pull it up right now. For those who don't know, if you become a patron, $20 patronage is going to give you one of these prints, and here it is for everybody to enjoy. Right here. I'm clicking in. Here is the process. Here is the magical printmaking process for all you guys to see.
Skip ahead, you could see it.
So, here we go.
There you go.
So what is happening here? So you have the...
that's just basically like inking up the block and then putting nori paste and sume ink on. And then like you rub it, and because everything is so like, I explained this in the video, because everything is like basically water based, and it's so like the moisture of the rice paper, of the shutdown paper, basically absorbs the ink. You don't really you can do everything by hand. You don't really need a printing, like an etching press. So this is like the oldest form, the most Lindy form of printmaking was the basic woodblock printing. But you could also use lino cut and so forth. I mean, so I'm hoping keeping the tradition alive.
So here you're putting the paper on.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that
you've got to line it up, because they'll have a different block.
Yeah, they have grooves.
They
have a name.
So you're gonna do one with whatever blue, and then you'll do another layer with the white. You'll do another layer with the orange, whatever.
Yeah, you usually
different places.
yeah, you have basically the same groove that's measured out, that you can do. Like usually you'll start with a key block, which is like your basic ink pattern, the outline, and then you go to the color blocks. But to me, like when I'm doing monotone prints, I don't really focus on the measurement, because I ended up like chopping it and gluing it to a archival watercolor paper backing, and then so yeah. But when I do, I will eventually probably move to some color. I've done some experiments here and there with watercolor and oil paste. So yeah. Oh fuck, what were we talking about?
So I
I
want
would have thought that lining them up must be really difficult. Getting them lined up correctly. That must be a really difficult part of it.
And to be consistent about it as well, because to be consistent with the ink levels. Like the reason I like traditional hand printing the way I do it, I'm closer to like more of the Western appropriations of it, like what Gauguin was doing, because I do like the singular black print block, because the different textures, the sort of the different levels of ink that are dispersed on it, they come out like each print is a little bit different, and I love that about that aspect of it. But a traditional ukiyo woodblock printer that's doing it, especially with color, they're very good at like gauging like the consistency of it, because it's very difficult to be very consistent and precise with each print. It's certainly a challenge, put it that way. But what I'm doing, like I'm more or less doing like monotone prints the way that Gauguin did them when he went to Tahiti and embedded a lovely Polynesian women. Some of them were underage, but that's neither here nor there.
By the way, one of the inspirations, one of the inspirations of the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, speaking of memes, was Gauguin, as I found out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the style. Like, people don't know this, but Japonism, which was a lot of the woodblock prints that ended up going into Europe, they basically were a memetic force on their own. They really inspired the Impressionists, especially Mamet, Monet, and Renoir, and later on with Gauguin and Van Gogh. I believe Van Gogh, he had access to archives at the time with Japanese woodblock prints.
Yeah. I put a link in it. Van Gogh invented this word to describe this. I mean, people think of this Japanese soft power influence on the West as kind of a modern thing, but it was going on in the 19th century too, and the 18th century. And people were huge into Japanese aesthetics in the West for as long as they were in contact. It was a whole thing.
So now is it a matter of it being switched over from one and then back to the other? Because JoJo, that's Japanese, so you have someone who's Japanese being inspired by someone who's non-Japanese who was inspired by someone who was Japanese. At least I think that's what you're saying, isn't it? But anyway, suffice it to say...
The exchange gets mixed up,
Yeah.
Many layers of this.
But suffice it to say, there is something in JoJo that, like, at first I thought, like, man, this is kind of a little bit too flashy for my taste. But then it kind of started to grow on me, like the kind of style that he's utilizing, where he's able to have a lot of fun with the fight scenes, how they get solved. Like, I am already on the Golden Wind, which I think has a different name in Japan because he loves a lot of classic rock. A lot of music, so he uses the titles from like Prince, Queen, all these different bands, and I think they can get away with it in Japan, but they can't get away with it in other countries. Anyway, the point that I'm getting to here with this Japanese stuff is that I think people here in America, like the reason why we have a lot of people who would be, let's say, more on the reactionary as opposed to the more leftist side of it. Although there are some people who use anime avatars who are more leftists, I do find more that they are attracted to like a quasi-anime, weird-looking style, but not so much the anime cuteness. What do you think is in, like, take Sunny, for example, Vedic Cyber God? Like, he always has these cute anime girls on, or our friend Hero Alchemy. He always uses like that particular anime girl. What do you think is it about these cute anime girls that appeal so much to people who are more on the right-wing side, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think if I had to guess, part of it would just be that in the presence of so much sort of explicit politics, both in Western entertainment, sort of the storyline, the writing, but also maybe in the aesthetics of it, implicit in it, kind of this intentionally ugly style that has honestly been around for quite a while. People who are naturally inclined to kind of turn to something that is intentionally either cute or beautiful, but sort of traditionally aesthetically appealing in that sense, or maybe going to have a rightist bias just temperamentally. And that might be my kind of read on it, that perhaps bullshit. I mean, it's an ex post facto explanation. I don't know if it has any predictive power, but that might be the way that I would approach it.
Interesting. I don't know, Gio, do you have anything else to add to that, or is that kind of
Yeah,
all...
I think. Wait, by the way, what happened to Shit Biscuit?
I don't know. I'm gonna check on him because he was here. Now he's not here.
He had
Maybe.
to go. He had to go.
Oh, he had to go. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well,
I think that, yeah, I think that in some ways, I mean, it's escaping the political categories in the Western world. But I think deeper than that, one anime N-word person described this to me once. He said, "You know, Gio, anime is like the perfect platonic form of the anima, the feminine lunar energy, the way that they have this like different personality. Because by comparison, a lot of like female protagonists in Western animation are very off-putting and caustic and acrid, and so in anime there's a bit, I don't know because I don't watch anime, but it's there's more of a like wholesome or cozy feeling, or there's more of like a dramatic narrative that isn't like necessarily infused with politics, but beyond that, from what I hear, it's more of like they have a deeper layer of storytelling than a lot of like Western animation, where it's like, you know, here's the bad guy, here's the good guy, you know, have at it. I don't know though. It's very hard to tell. I think that largely there is a form of like neo-exoticism that is, or Orientalism rather, that is going on with like the Western anime phenomenon. I don't know if there's a good explanation. There are a lot of like left-wing people that are anime people, but it is crazy how a lot, especially traditionalists, gravitating towards anime, which is kind of like, yeah, I don't know. There's got to be some type of thing there.
well, we had a good comment from Archetypes, by the way. He said,
it's on a podcast. You guys should host a podcast about this at some point. Get
oh yeah,
and all these other people on to talk about this, because there's a whole lot here.
Definitely. And we have a comment from
we had Minimoto on.
Oh yeah,
from the what's the podcast?
Anime Pussy. Anime Pussy.
Oh God, we should have that. Yeah.
Yes.
People from the Anime Pussy podcast.
And our Arctumos had a comment: people on the right have a greater sensitivity to disgust and more affinity for cuteness. I mean, look, I would say there are certain things that you could say like, oh, they're kind of weird looking, but they're also cute in their own way. For example, like I think a lot of Tim Burton stuff, you know, like it looks creepy, but it's also a cute kind of creepy. You know what I mean? It has a certain sentimentality.
What's the cartoon with the goth girl?
Beetlejuice?
No, the one that Randy Stair was radicalized by.
Danny Phantom.
Danny Phantom.
Never go full ghosts. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, there you go. I think I don't know. I think the goth girl is another archetype, another meme that it's another meme that plays into this, I guess you would say, like male fantasy of like the manic pixie girl, but it's something deeper because goth culture has somewhat of an awareness of like, you know, death and memento mori. I feel that the neo-goth thing is ripe for a right-wing youth that can potentially have an aesthetic that is, not within like the same machinations of modernity. But again, there's always going to be a problem with the e-girls. Like Zero HP Lovecraft had a great tweet today about memes and e-girls, that they are caught within the mirror, the gaze of the other, and they are a product of the gaze of the other. And so when that happens, the memetic energy that goes into the e-girl is something that is a neurotic and chaotic energy that I think a lot of young men should avoid. There's certainly a lot of very dark succubi, shadow animus things going on there. That I don't know.
We're gonna have some of those succubuses on in November, aka no nut November, and I believe the date is going to be on Thursday, November 26th. See, I'm already booking things way in advance, and in fact,
Wow.
we may have cross your. I don't even know if I should say it. Fuck it, I will say it because why not? On Tuesday, November 10th, I'm pretty sure we are gonna have Doug Tenapel on. He is the creator.
And Nepal, you mean?
Tenapel, yes, the creator of Earthworm Jim.
Nice.
So
He almost got canceled recently. They tried to go after him.
Yeah, well, he's not a fan of gay marriage, from what I understand. I think that was one of the first things that they really started rallying against him for. I'm not sure if he got. I mean, he's still making content. Like, I don't know if you get to that kind of position.
You're anti-fragile.
I guess I'm not sure. I mean, he's just been in the industry for a long time. But then also, we want to get Frank Hassel on, and the date that I'm looking for is Thursday, November 12th. Gio, please draw Jessica. Do you know who I mean by Jessica?
Yes, Jessica. Yes. I will draw Jessica.
Can you, I just want you to talk about who Jessica is for a second, for those who don't know who Jessica is.
Jessica is this, random person that Dr. Don Wario, Frank Hassel, he has this character called Dr. Don Wario where he psychologically mind fucks people in the shortest amount of time. And he basically destroyed the psyche of this old looked like Middle Eastern man that he called Jessica, where he's he wears women's panties, and then the manager was there and they left because it was too crazy, so fuck it. And then they basically tried to turn Jessica into a sissified, bimbified gimp slave. And the Dr. Don Wario,
the good
with
doctor,
his feminization vapors. So I think the video is on YouTube, actually. I don't know.
Well,
but go subscribe to Frank Castle's Gumroad.
Yes, well, this is what Jessica looks like. I'm just gonna make a full screen. This is Jessica. So Gio, you're gonna have to draw Jessica with a wig.
Yeah, I have to screen cap.
Yes,
yeah,
you have
Frank
to put
Castle
the makeup.
Jessica.
You have to put makeup on the mask itself. You have to draw lips on the mask.
I'll draw the cat girl on the lips.
Yes, cat girl on the lips. Put a nice red dress in. And and just have Frank Castle in the background, just look, with a proud look on his face, it is accomplished. It is done.
This is really fucked up. This is incredibly fucked up. I do not know what you guys are talking about, but this seems just fucking horrible. And I'll be sure to look at it. And I'm gonna have to go shortly because I have some shit to do. But before I go, I'd like you guys to explain, if you could, just what has happened with hashtag Kaliak in the last few months. I remember I watched the stream with maybe Sunny. I don't know if you ever had Maya on, but I know I watched Sunny, the fucking shit-talking man, anarchist, libertarian dude.
Gennady.
I don't know, you're not even from this country. I remember that.
Oh god,
that was a fun stream. I remember.
They're both friends of the show, by the way. They're both friends of the show.
Sunny and Maya,
Sunny and Gennady. So we ended up.
Sunny and Gennady, please, just Sunny. Sunny and Gennady. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me what's been going on with Kaliak, because it seems like they've had a bunch of shit happen in the past few months that I haven't really had the wherewithal to follow, but it seems like a interesting and dramatic storyline. I wonder if you guys can give me the deets on that.
Well, I don't know if it's my place to say, but I'll just say all of this is conjecture. What I'm about to say, it's not 100% confirmed, but apparently this was going on for a number of months, where Kaliak, within the group discords, they had various disagreements of a well, let's call it Discord nature with Sunya/Maya. And apparently, allegedly, Maya was doxxed, and it went all downhill from there. And a number of people have left, like Aryan Cowboy, and there are people. Apparently, Kolyak is no more, or it's on a different form. Or Kolyak really was never, from what Sunny says, a unified movement. It was more of just a random collection of people under the same banner. But I don't know. I think that to me, like the people that I know in Kolyak, I think there's a lot of good people there, and there's a lot of great ideas, and there's a lot of innovation. I feel it's a shame that such a profound setback has happened. Whether or not it happened or not, I don't really know. It's not my place to say. But I
thought Maya was the leader of Kaliak.
Yeah. But apparently, I don't know. They have yes and no. It's more of, like what Sunny says, it's more of a leaderless movement. But I mean, of course, there's figureheads like with everything. But I don't know. It's just things have been going crazy lately. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I'm an outside looking in, obviously.
There are a lot of.
I lost track of Sunny at some point. I don't know what Sunny's current ad is.
Well, Sunny's doing a lot of regular life stuff right now, and I think that's good. And as far as what's gonna happen,
if someone could throw Sunny's at in the chat, maybe that would be. I don't know the exact app, but I still follow Sunny. So,
and yeah, let me see if I can put that in here. And when it comes to Cowboy, I'm not sure what's gonna happen there either. I mean, Cowboy has been someone who was very inspirational to me as far as a lot of the
same with me,
metaphysical things that he was talking about like all his stories, and he is someone who has reignited a spiritual spark in me. Not that it was disignited before, but he kind of put even more energy into it, and made me made me look at things in an even deeper way. And I noticed that there were similarities to things that I was experiencing that he was experiencing, and just I really think it comes down to, if you do feel that there is something more that's going on in the world than just, we are just this, I mean, I don't want to say dead machine like the atheists, or we don't believe that we're in a dead machine, but just like this idea of that. I think that there was a Lev pre and post this idea. Like there was a Lev that was just going along with this world and not really paying attention to what the fuck, I'm in a three-dimensional environment. This is so fucking weird. And eventually I got to that point with a lot of the meditation, things like that, where I had experiences that also made me look at this world in a different way, what exactly this whole experience is. And when you're doing a podcast, you're not really focused on that, or when you're doing any kind of work. But when you just like sit back, like I recommend everybody who's watching this, just do it right now. Like sit back and just think for a second, like take your face off the screen after you press the subscribe button. God damn it, press the subscribe button right now. But after that, you have to go out, not out, just like take a step back and just think for a moment. What am I? I am this being, this consciousness that's experiencing what I'm experiencing right now in a three-dimensional environment, and like I see in perspective, and there's like all these things around me that you could like zoom into, and there's not even an end to like what exact this energy is. How deeper can you go in order to like, does it end at the protons and the neutrons and electrons and quarks, and like can we go even deeper than that? And there's
the mechanics, the secret of the universe.
You know what I mean? Like some people,
Jones.
Well, some people believe, who have taken like 25 grams to 30 grams of mushrooms, that if you go real deep,
oh my
like,
god, 25
grams. Yes, if you go real deep with the mushrooms, then you can start zooming in on existence. What I mean by that is you go down into the molecular level, then you go down into the level of like the protons, neutrons, quarks, but then you go even deeper. And what you find is that there are these factories that produce all this stuff, like these mini factories of machine elves. So you can actually see the machine elves.
You get to see the Kant. You get to see the understanding of Immanuel Kant. You see the factories of taking perceptible content and working it into the categories we understand. I had a college professor, not college, university grad professor once. He said, he turned to me once. When I used to be a New Ager, he's like, Gio, we were doing Kant. He was a Kant expert. It's like, Gio, I don't care what you say. No matter how much acid you drop, you can't see the noumena. You can't get to the thing itself. I go, I don't know. Has anyone tried? I mean, I don't know. But
By the way, Poe is going to be joining us soon. He just said, oh, damn, I forgot. I just got home from the gym not too long ago. So we are going to have Poe's Law coming in, and I am looking forward to that. Poe has been a very inspiring Twitter personality, especially from the posts he did of that woman with the vagina that was like opening up like a clam like that. You know?
oh my God, you got banned for that?
I don't know if it was for that or not, but it was very interesting. Like, see, this is what I mean. People are going to find Poe, and people are going to find all these other people regardless of them being banned. But I also, I still understand your point when you're talking about, like Kashiwagi. I understand that maybe it is true that in a lot of these industries, the woke left is winning. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to ever be on that winning side because I'd be disgusted with myself. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, I don't know if you want to call it a lost cause or whatever, but there is just still something satisfying about living in such a way that I can stand up for my own ideals and not just be this puppet that has to recite all these fucking mantras all day like they have to.
I certainly agree with that. I think that there's a lot to be. I mean, the only reason that we're here is that there's an appeal, at least to a certain personality type of living honestly with oneself. I think this is something that Justin Murphy gets at a lot. I think this is a point that he makes. You know, I don't agree with Justin Murphy on everything. In fact, I disagree with him on plenty of stuff. But I think that a big thing that kind of unites everyone who's standing in some sort of opposition to or exile from the mainstream culture in this respect is that they really can't bring themselves to recite the mantras because they can't believe it and they see the bullshit. And no matter how much power it gets them, they really just can't give up that part of them that wants to live in truth.
No, I could definitely understand that, and I think part of what helps me out as well is that I also have a very understanding family, like my family who's not doing the same things that I'm doing. Nevertheless, they understand what I'm doing and they fully support as well. And if we were able to get these communities that aren't going to want the approval of these bigger hive minds, who don't really care about what the NPR watching Martha thinks about them, who's like her friend at work or whatever. I think that's Moldbug's grill pill coming into effect when we can get all those people who don't really care, but at the same time don't really want to make a fuss at work. They can just isolate themselves away from the more woke people. They can just join together into, I don't know, whatever mutual societies they want to be a part of, whether it's grilling, whether it's any other outdoor hobby or whatever. Then those could be the people that can form new communities that would be much stronger than the communities that we have today. And it would just be like not participating in the communities that would bring you down so much. And eventually I think that may come a tipping point, even for a lot of people I know who are working in academia. Like, there's got to be a tipping point. I can't imagine that they're just all going to go along if there's not going to be an end to the original sin of being a white person or whatever. Like, if there's not going to be an end to that, then eventually things are going to get so bad that people are just going to vacate that place. There may be some masochists who wouldn't. I don't know what exactly that's going to look like. I can't imagine that's going to be stopping anytime soon. So before you go, would you have any predictions you can make as far as if there is a tipping point, what would that tipping point look like that may make some of those people go for the grill pill and get out of this politicking?
Oh man, it's hard to say. I think that there's good money on things getting worse and worse for a good while yet. Obviously, nothing lasts forever. I think there are just a lot of inherent contradictions here. I think even the people who kind of vocalize support for this stuff, they can't bear the ideology sessions, the struggle sessions themselves half the time. I mean, for some of them it's really compelling, but other people kind of get that it's not fun. And if there were something that came along I think there would be a lot of people, if there were preference cascade, who would, given sufficient public support for things, be willing to come over to the other side, because there's a lot of people who they'll mount the platitudes, but they don't enjoy it. They're not fully bought into it. Allowing that preference cascade to happen, kind of catalyzing that, that's a big question, because it's very hard to get any footing institutionally right now. I'm looking to things like Urbit, for instance, as potential ways to exit and form breakaway communities that are going to be cool in and of themselves. But honestly, I don't have a whole lot of hopeful things to say about this.
Well, so we had
you never know. I mean, there was a lot, up until halfway through 2015, Donald Trump wasn't even running for president, and a year and a half later, Donald Trump was president. Things changed very quickly. I'm not saying to be hopeful, but keep speaking the truth, I guess.
Definitely. And part of speaking the truth is also not falling too deep into one particular side where certain things may end up getting lost. And I'm not saying that that's something that happens to everyone, but for example, Byzantium Archon brought up Ariosophy. And I think that there is a lot of merit in looking back and seeing what is all this primordial knowledge that we can gain. At the same time, though, I am no fan of this information being used as a justification for there to be a bureaucracy that would exclude people for things that they have no power over as far as, how they were born and all that. But I don't think my view is that controversial, at least on this side. I don't find it to be a controversial view where you're talking about having an open door policy for people who vibe with you, and it shouldn't matter where they come from, what color their skin is or whatever. I think we have one of the most, I'm proud to say we have one of the most diverse podcasts of all time. But okay, here's my point. My point is that at the same time, that would eliminate so many cultures that wouldn't fit into that mold. If you see that a certain culture would not vibe with you, then that culture shouldn't be part of your culture unless they work themselves as individuals to the point where they do vibe with the culture they're going to be living in. I think that's completely fair.
Yeah, but that's like a lot of like what me and Kashiwagi talk about on Twitter, where, especially because I'm in Leafland, right? Real multiculturalism is more of a product of like the Anglo assumption of the world order. And the problem is that it's not actual multiculturalism. It's more of like a homogenization of all cultures into global Anglo liberalism, right? So it's not real multi. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm going to have hopefully soon an article where I talk about it's going to be an art criticism article. It's going to be called something about neoliberal aesthetics, and hopefully it will be in the new publication I Am 1776, which had this brilliant piece by William Guppy, who we can hopefully have on the show soon, taking down like the fucking intellectual dark web, like not Charles Murray. What's the guy's name? The British guy, Murray.
Oh man, what's wrong with me? I don't remember.
What's his name? the gay British guy.
Douglas Murray.
Oh, Douglas Murray. Yeah.
Douglas Murray. There you go. So hopefully I will write about it. And then there's this one particular installation by this art group. It's called Superplex, the art group, where they have basically this like the city in, I think it was in Denmark, gave them this like public planning thing where they get to like design this public park, and it's basically like multi-culti, like 50 different like stuff from 50 different countries, and it's just like this mess, right? So there's this other one that I'm going to talk about, the global favelaization of the world, this other installation piece. But so anyways, I think the problem is that real like multicultural understanding and diffusion can only happen when you have cultures who have a secure understanding about who they are and what their identity is, and then they can appreciate the other. Because, like, for example, the British, when all over the world and gathered different baubles from different cultures, and they had like ethnologists, like and the Germans did this as well. Like, for example, Max Mueller was the first to translate the sacred books of the East, although he fucked up somewhere. Like, there were certain areas where he, like, you know, had mistranslations, and there was definitely a certain degree of racism, like the cartoonish, like, you know, the Japanese can't, you know, fire their rifles correctly because they had slanted eyes, right? Like, shit like that was obviously, you know, not apropos. And, you know, of course, the British, they lost in Japan. So, but apart from that, I think multiculturalism, the Victorian era had more of a deeper understanding of multiculturalism than we have now with like progressive liberal modernity. Because I think that these cultures, they understood who they were, and they really could appreciate the other in ways that we can't, because we have to sort of level and smooth out every contradiction and turn every culture into like a paste, like a fucking trinket that you buy in some like resort, right? I think that like, and this goes to meme culture as well, because meme culture is like sort of the reintroduction of a true global consciousness, but at the same time, different like meme plexes are lost in translation. So, for example, like we're talking about the Spuro and Spurdo and Gondola and Pedo Bear. I think that like we're never going to truly understand because we weren't around in those like Finnish forums or like 2chan or whatnot. So I think that, you know, as much as the internet has truly united us, I still think that there can be spaces of cultural difference and cultural isolation on the internet, whereas the world is overwhelmingly trending towards like a total homogenization, which I think is terrible. I mean, as much as it's great to like go like to travel in your fucking little bourgeois vacations and be like, well, everywhere speaks English. I could go to Beijing and they still speak English. It's like, well, like, fuck you. Like, who wants to go to McDonald's in Kuala Lumpur? You know what I mean? You go to McDonald's down the street. Like, it's bullshit. But I don't know. I'm just ranting right now. But I think another point before Kashwagi goes is that when it comes to meme culture, there truly is a sense that that memes are starting to influence real life. And this is why MemeAnalysis, his channel, that's why he says at the end of every video, is that memes matter. Because as much as that we're sort of going out of the infantile and childish one-dimensional meme that we grew up with, like whether it was Rage Comics or not, and memes are becoming more surreal and more complex, and they're almost becoming art within themselves. There's a level of evanescence to it because they're anonymous. Like, we don't know who created. Well, we know who created the original Pepe, but do we know who created the original Groiper? Like, do we know who created the original fucking cum Groiper? Do we know who created the original like Trump Hitler Groiper edit? Like, no, we don't, because they're largely from anonymous image boards. Yeah. Go ahead, Kwashwagi.
Oh no, yeah, no. There's so many variants.
Exactly,
at this
like,
point.
Yeah, like there's different reasons why people are anonymous. Like, I myself am not anonymous. I'm very easy to find, which I probably shouldn't admit in public. But like, it is what it is. Like, you know my face, you know my name. There you go. Like Kashwagi, he chooses to be anonymous, and there's, you know, and people choose anonymity for different reasons, because in some ways, like when it comes to my output, like I feel as an artist, it's almost inescapable to be anonymous. And like even people who do anonymous project like Cause or like even Banksy, like I'm pretty sure people know who he is. Like, but Banksy's a bad example because he could go fuck himself. But anyway, sorry. I should write a whole critique about Banksy. But the point being is that I think memes, they really couldn't exist the same way if the artists themselves were not anonymous. Like the guy who created Pepe, he tried to do this like fucking Robert Crumb stuff, where he's like, I'm gonna kill Pepe now. And then it's like people like Ben Garrison made a comic where it's like Pepe walking, like where he's like got a top hat and a suit, and he's walking by the creator. I forget his name, but they made a documentary on him that Eggy was in, Eggman, who we're going to have in November, by the way. and so like, you know, they have the comic where Ben Garrison drew, where it's like, you know, who the hell are you? And he's like, but I killed you. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And so I think that that's the really the power of memes, is that it's both a power and a hindrance, because you really have no control over the intertextuality of memes and the way that they get diffused. It truly is the death of the artist. The artist is almost irrelevant. It's almost like a lot of Japanese woodblock printmakers. It's like a lot of art that came out of monastic traditions in Christianity, like iconography. Like, we know certain saints who are icon painters, but the vast majority of them, we don't know who they are. Like, even in Japan, like in China, you have like Zen koans. A lot of those koans, we don't really know who they were made by, because a lot of Zen masters, they would like just describe their students' koans to themselves. So there's a beauty within this anonymity. And me, myself, I don't look down on people who are anonymous, because I think that there are certain things you can do. There's a certain level of legitimacy in having skin in the game when you're not anonymous, but there's certain actions and there's certain things that you can create out and put out there while you are anonymous that doesn't burden your everyday life. And so I don't know. What do you think of that, Kashuai? Because you're pretty like, you're to the point of using a voice changer, Paul Masvidal cynic vocoder. So
one more time. Question.
Yeah, what do you think of anonymity yourself? Like, why are you anonymous, and what are the benefits or detriments of it?
Oh, I don't know. There's more than one reason. I think in general it's probably a pretty good idea to divorce one's internet self from one's in real life self. I think that even as is, the amount of ego fracturing and so on that happens, even when you have a Twitter account, is kind of staggering and surprising. And you look at a lot of people who get really into streaming. I'm not talking about you in particular, Lev, but you look at the way that a lot of people go. The Alaska saga recently, I haven't been following it at all.
Yes.
But just based on the tidbits I've seen on Twitter, it seems like something where he's just fucking self-immolating. And this has happened to any number of people over the years. We've all seen it happen. It's not a path that I think anyone wants to follow.
Hopefully, I won't go down the same path. I don't know. Me, Lev, and Jules. Hopefully, we won't go down the same.
No, you guys don't seem to be chasing that high right now.
Yeah.
I also think just as a matter of like, things have gotten so weird just in the past few years. I think in general it's better to have very little online presence. Even when you're not anonymous, just in general. I would try to minimize IRL social media and shit like that. You just never know.
Well, also just for your health. Like, I could do it as far as organizing streams, getting people on, but as far as spending time online, like even building Twitter or Cloud or something like that, like if I have something that I want to say, then I'll say it, but just I would rather I want to be like Nikola Tesla. I want to spend all my time taking long walks around like a place with a lot of trees everywhere, you know? That's how I want to spend my time, as well as being...
Are you guys subtweeting me right now?
As well as being...
I do the opposite of these things. Oh, I take long walks, but I mean, like, well, they could be longer, put it that way. But no, yeah, you're right. It is, even me, myself, like, for example, the last week when we did the Bard stream with Logo and Alexander Bard and John Pelich and Joel Davis, like when Twitter went down, I went fucking nuts. I thought like they banned me. So I'm like, I don't know. It's just, you're right. There is a very, very bad psychic attachment to like having clout and chasing it. And but then again, I think people that say that, oh, clout isn't real, it's like, that's bullshit, because you're chasing clout just as much as anyone else. But
no, it is real because it does end up translating in the future to being able to support yourself through merchandise, through any other thing, because you just happen to have more people that are paying attention to what exactly you're doing. The attention economy.
But then again, it's the way you go about it, I feel, that separates someone making money on the internet to hopefully where, me and you can be that way one day, hopefully. Translating that into someone who like does it by just shameless grifting or by being dishonest or doing like some fucking baked Alaska shit, which I have been following recently, as much as I don't want to admit. It's quite the saga. but
Wait, so there was there like some girl that was with him? I haven't been following that. All I remember.
Yes, he was exploiting a schizophrenic girl that he gave money to allegedly, but that he like left it with someone, and she like lives in this shitty trailer park. And he was on this bus with a bunch of other grippers, and he was going around with like the text-to-speech super chats, and they have the Keemstar N-word like ready to go. People paying $5 so like maybe Baked Alaska can get killed on stream one day, because the recent one.
Well, that's just like what happened with Andy Worski, right? Like.
Yeah. Stay back.
Yeah. That's
the recent one.
That's what we call memeing yourself.
Memeing yourself, exactly. And recently,
you don't want to meme yourself.
Exactly. And so you don't want to be in that situation like Andy Worski where you're saying like aim. Recently, Baked Alaska, he actually crashed a funeral, believe it or not, and he almost got into a fist fight with someone for insulting this guy's brother that died. And I don't know. It's doing so much for the movement and the white race. I don't know. Baked Alaska is a great warrior for the white race.
Do you think, by the way, that in the future we are gonna get like, if things go down the shitter more and the police are not gonna be as active, we are gonna get like the equivalent of a Clockwork Orange, where we're gonna have these gangs.
Violent youth gangs.
Yeah, but they live stream everything. Like, imagine.
Definitely. We'll have like Alex live streaming with the Droogs.
yes, exactly. But like, and if it happens, I would want them to actually dress nice. Like at least.
Well, they'll have cod pieces.
Yes, at least make it classy. Get like that Japanese style, like that long nose thing. Just make it look interesting, and
like the Slipknot nose.
Yes, like make it look. Just like, I think that may be what Stanley Kubrick was getting at. Like, some people think he's like Nostradamus when it comes to the predictions, but then again, he never predicted cell phones in 2001: The Space Odyssey, and he had already like space stations out there, so I don't know.
And then it got memed into reality, yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote this article once. It was in the Autistic Mercury. It was about how like Anthony Burgess and like Stanley Kubrick, they were kind of wrong because they're right on one level, but I feel that the youth of today, they're not going to really find solidarity in like youth gangs. They're rather going to do like individual acts, like, school shooters. We already have shooters that are live streaming themselves, but like it's like so crazy how we're so atomized with the internet that even like public acts of violence will become singular and like individualized. And it's I don't know.
No, but then you're only gonna pick on, okay, that basically means that it's only gonna be the weak that are gonna be. I mean, already we have like the fucking knockout game, so I'm sure that's done. And it's going to be done much more, sadly enough to say, which is why, again, like I was speaking with people, like I was speaking to this person I know, and she was saying like how much she's against guns, and she lives like around like the area of New York City, pretty nice area, where there was an incident of an old lady being punched out, and I feel bad that people in New York, they don't have still the sense of like, either we got to get out of here or we got to make sure we can defend ourselves. Like that survival instinct.
Toronto, yeah.
Like I don't really know that much about Toronto. I mean, isn't it called Toronto the Good? That's one of its phrases. And
yeah, Toronto.
Isn't the other one?
No, things are getting worse. Yeah.
Well, the other one is diversity is our strength. Is that the other?
Yeah. That's all of Canada. Diversity is their strength.
Interesting.
But no, it's true. Just to clarify to the chat, I feel that Frank Castle is doing something fundamentally different, like apart from the boogie thing. But the boogie thing is like for internet clout. Let's face it, right? Like and he fucking deserves it. But I feel that Frank Castle is doing something different than Baked Alaska, because Frank Castle, there's a level of artistic planning there. There's a level of like showmanship. Like I don't think he would cross the same boundaries like going to a funeral or like dissing like minimum wage workers. Like it's more so it's more so like he's putting on a character and he's doing it that way. Like there's more of a logic to it. He's not just going there and like calling people F slurs and insulting them and shit like that. So yeah, you gotta go, Kashiwagi. So thank you. Please come again, my friend. This has been amazing.
I've got some shit to do, but I will come on another stream at some point.
I would love that. We should
Thank you,
we
my
should do a
friend.
stream with you and Zero HP Lovecraft at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to be on a stream with Zero HP Lovecraft. We have plenty to talk about.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for
and
coming.
we both have the same voice. We're twins.
Yes.
So anyway,
Yeah.
bye-bye. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you
This
so
was a
much
lot
for
of fun.
coming in.
All right. Thank you.
And guys, don't forget to subscribe once again for the people who are watching, who are new here. Take a look at our catalog. Take a look at all the amazing shows that we put on, all the shorts that we put on. There is a really unviewed short just because it's kind of a niche topic, but I talk about my idea for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Check that out. Watch that.
Oh God.
That's it's a really good one. So anyway, when it comes to Poe's Law, I think he should be coming in soon. Let me check what exactly is going on.
If not, we could just have him on another day and cut it short. I don't know. Like,
Yes.
We're gonna...
Yes, I
Because
think
the election's on tonight, and I
that's
don't
true.
wanna,
Yeah, people are preparing for the election, but we may have also had a Hakaya Says. I'm gonna check out with her what exactly is going on.
Oh,
but,
it's a her.
Oh, him. Sorry. See, he uses.
You
the
can never tell
avatar.
with the anime peeps.
Yes.
You can
no.
never tell with anime people.
No, I mean I heard his voice, so I know what his voice sounds like. It is a manly voice, so I know that. But the avatar, you're right, it always fools me. So I'm gonna see what's going on with Poe's Law. He did say that he was coming on, and it would be nice for him to make an appearance. So I'm gonna try one more time to see if I can get him in. But while I am doing that, Gio, shout-outs time.
Shout out. Who are we shouting out?
Shouting out the people in the chat.
Oh yeah, let me see if I can have let me actually go to,
And while Gio is going, I'm going to use this time to tell you about patreon.com/breaktherules. If you go to patreon.com, become a $20 patron, limited time offer. This is going to be ending real soon. It's going to be ending in November. It's going to be ending in November. Go there, become a patron, and when you become a patron, you are going to get an exquisite print from the main man, Giovanni Panicietti. Beautiful Japanese woodblock print from the TFW No GF series. And Gio is amazing artist. And if you want to buy that beautiful painting he just did right now of Gondola in that wonderful fall setting, it's $112. You can go to streamlabs.com/break the rules, Cointree/break the rules, either one that is going to work out. So do you have the chat ready? I am going to send a message to Poe's Law and see what's cracking.
I have the YouTube chat. So the great Aman Sadhu, great patron. Shout out to Aman Sadhu. Shout out to Super Iron Bob in the chat. Always a great pleasure. Byzantium Archon, of course. Pulsating Shadow. Hello to Pulsating Shadow. One Curry Superfan, XO. Shout out to him. Who else do we got? Engineer. People, if you watch True Capitalist Radio, you get that reference. We got Buff, as always, Buff. We got, I can't read that because it's like a Japanese kanji. So I can't, I'm sorry, dude. But the person who's got kanji in there, I can't. And that's pretty much it. I think we have some people on Twitter who have retweeted it, like Blue Shoe Hero. Who else? Shout out to my boy Spiggy. Shout out to who else am I thinking of? I'm trying to look for the. I'm going to do.
Shout out to Caustic. We got to do a
Caustic Dreamer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's one of our patrons.
Poe's Law said he's going to be on the stream. Shout out to who else is here? Juvenile Sled. Juvenile
Sled, yes.
Juvenile. Sir Carl Cox, as always. Sir Carl Cox. I
just imagine Sir Carl Cox is like this nobleman who just has a lot of penises. He's got 5 penises at the same time. They're just like,
oh boy,
wiggling everywhere.
So who else do I recognize? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to Small Follower.
Yeah, Small Follower, John. Love you. And
by the way, John is saying that he recently got a unfollow by a certain someone. I knew that was going to happen, But anyways, yeah, that's just needless drama. I will say no more.
Interesting.
So what does the chat have to say before we're waiting for Poe's Law? But
Yes.
maybe really quickly, I could just say that when it comes to memes, I wrote this article many years, well, not many, but like back in like 2016. And it was called, it was in West Coast Reactionaries, but you can find it if you go to my blog. Maybe you could link it, Lev. Go to Major PDFs, Content Minded Volume 1. It's in there. In my blog, Geo's Content Corner at WordPress. I wrote this article. It was called Synchronous Arisings. And it was basically about the Pepe meme. And it was about this video that Jordan Peterson did at the time with the great, and hopefully we could get him on the show, the great Orthodox carver, iconographer, Jonathan Pageau. And hopefully we could get him on the show one day. I think he still follows me. But they had this great breakdown of Keck, and Keck is like a chaos magician god. And I really wrote that we have to caution ourselves with meme culture and immersing ourselves in a primordial chaos. And I feel that we have to sort of strive for a new maturity with memes. And we have to get ourselves to a level at least of producing actual art rather than just producing memes, however effective memes are. But the memes themselves,
is this the meme exegesis series?
That's one of them, but this is in the Content Minded Volume 1 in the Major PDF section.
Because I see must read free PDFs. I'm on the website right now.
Yeah.
And then where do I go? Oh, Content Minded Volume 1.
Yes, it's in there. It's called Synchronous Arisings, and you can actually find it if you go to the West Coast Reactionary website. I think it's still up. That was Adam Wallace's website. But anyways, and a lot of great people in Frog Twitter was actually involved with publishing articles there. But I wrote this article, and it's, about the chaos magician Pepe. It's very, it reminds me of this quote by one of the great luminaries who is, left a few years ago from Frog Twitter. His name was Melch. And he said that something to the effect of, I had a dream where I saw a medicine frog dancing in a cave. And basically we sold our souls to meme culture and to memes. And for eternity, we're always going to relive this reality that we've memed ourselves into, that we are the product of the same memes that we have created. Whether or not that's true, whether or not that's an exaggeration, there's certainly a lot of geopolitical and socio-political factors that has led into the victory of Donald J. Trump as president. But I do feel that meme culture in some ways has created this, chaos card, wild card that has really been a specter on Western civilization. And for the first time in a very long time, the political right felt that we memed ourselves into a position of prominence where we can actually control subversive, genuine culture. And I know a lot of very, not very smart people, like a certain someone that says things like, well, we're the new punk rock. And it's like, to me, that's a total bullshit saying, because punk rock is dead. Punk rock is bullshit. Punk rock is a sellout, low capital branding strategy. You don't want to be punk rock because punk rock is evanescent. Punk rock is a fad. You want to be something more anti-fragile than punk rock. But the problem is that we're basically gifted but also cursed with meme culture in general. So the only way to go to something more meaningful and long-lasting is through. So we have to find a way to make the memes themselves more anti-fragile. And I think that Pepe is probably the best we're going to get in terms of the anti-fragile meme, along with Wojak. But we have to think beyond Pepe and Wojak. We have to sort of, as much as I become embittered with this certain person, he does have a point where he says that, in this certain documentary that we all know about, there's a Pepe and there's a Wojak within all of us. And it's up to finding this, what Jung called individuation, of harmoniously bringing together different parts of our being into a single collective and cohesive unit that has a lot of work, and we're doing this work together. And this is the thing with meme culture, is that hyperstitionally we're doing this work of individuation collectively, and we're going to have to reconcile the fact that the memes create us just as much as we create the memes, and we're going to have to deal with this fact that we have to ride the wave, we have to ride the tiger of meme culture, and it's going to be a collective process. At the same time, it's just as much going to be an individual process. But this is the problem I feel with people like Jordan Peterson, is that they didn't realize that this is a collective thing. Like, and let's face it, why are we even talking about this? Because I just bring it up because, you know, it was a linchpin of the article back in 2016 that I wrote. But the reality is that all these individualists, they're going to be gone soon. They're pretty much done for, because meme culture is a collective entity. It's not an individualist type of vibe. Individualists have used memes because there's more of like an anarch, you know, a Ernst Younger anarch ideal of like, you're not an individual anarchist. Like, you still have a sense of the collective. You still have collective values. You still largely are a product of authority, but you express it in an individualistic way because you are like this creative, artistic type. You are of a higher caste. And Yukio Mishima was similar in that he realized that he had to realize collective traditional values through an individualistic and artistic path. And so this is where a lot of the contradictions come about. Because when the intellectual dork web types, when they talk about it's all about the individual, bucko, it's like, no, it's not about the individual, it's about the collective. But yet at the same time, it's the way that we honor the way that we're honoring the values of the collective culture or group or ethnos. We're going to have to do this through individualistic paths.
Well,
So
we're
it's like
always
we
going to
have
have
to
like I don't know if we're having that much right now, but back in the day they had, for example, Cervantes of Don Quixote, William Shakespeare. Like, we had these titans that I don't think if you took all of the English peasantry together, they'd be able to come up with the same thing that these people did.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's a lot of confusion there. So we're going to have to almost in some ways, we have to have a collective understanding of the values. And this is, I feel, a problem with the online right, is that, you know, we're going to have to sort of find a way to create a genuine counterculture that has a sense of collective values. And in some ways, we do have like shared opinions and concepts that we can sort of like come to an agreement upon. But at the same time, it's going to be hard because they're going to have to be a million different, you know, movements and people and brands and artists that are going to have to do the actual work. And any attempt thus far at unifying a lot of this memetic energy is going to fail, because by definition, memes are not going to be subsumed under a collective banner. The moment that memes get appropriated by a state model, to quote Deleuze, is the moment they die. So the moment the culture industry tries to use memes, like having a fucking airline commercial with the double rainbow guy, like God rest his soul. But that's just a stupid example. But like the moment that mainstream culture tries to appropriate memes, it doesn't work out for them, because memes by definition are something that are, you know, incredibly hard to capture. They're incredibly hard to control. But who knows, right? I mean, maybe if the OSS or whoever, you know, the CIA, if they're manufacturing memes, then maybe we're all just being psyoped by meme culture. But I think I'm more optimistic in the sense that memes are very hard to control. But at the same time, that is also a detriment, because when you're trying to use memes as a mass political project, there are certain dangers with that. Like Foucault said, you know, nothing is evil, but everything is dangerous, right? There's always going to be a possibility of danger that you're going to psyop yourself into certain behaviors or certain thought patterns that are going to be detrimental to what your values are. But I don't know. I'm just
that makes sense. I see memes as being a kind of specter that goes through different people like a ghost that just absorbs the energy of the people that are broadcasting it from one person to another. There still had to be a certain person, though, that was inspired to make a particular change, to, let's say, draw this Pepe, doing this kind of pose with the hands.
The Groiper.
Yeah, the Groiper, yeah. Like, there were certain things that still individual people did do, and I still think that it's not like you'll be able to get just like a bunch of my neighbors or whatever together, and they're going to be able to figure this out en masse. I still think that the daimons, I think they still look for people who have something in them that they'd be able to vibe with. And that's when we're able to see certain changes happening to the memes that would then, as opposed to the people embracing them, the memes end up embracing the people in a way through this spiritual energy and go through the people. And I don't know, again, how much people have ideas as opposed to the ideas having people. So those ideas that would be given birth to, even though I do see a collective tendency in there, I don't even know if that collective tendency can be collective as much as a representation of certain archetypes that have repeated themselves through the ages being reignited once again through the power of these memes.
Well, this is why I mentioned this to MemeAnalysis, and this is why I feel that very strongly that I think we have a chance to bring on John David Ebert onto the show when he describes the difference between archetypes that have been present throughout collective history and econotypes that are much more rooted to a particular epoch or episteme or era. The econotypes, I feel, are closer to meme culture because as much as there are certain memes that share collective symbolism with a lot of ancient ideas, like Keck and Pepe is one of them, I feel that they're still rooted to modernity and rooted to the digital age. And so they're rather iconotypes that come up and go away, or they may resurface in different forms.
What is an iconotype? What is an iconotype?
Well, the iconotype is similar to the archetype, but the iconotype is different in that it's rather images that pop up in certain ages, and they're specifically suited to a very specific moment rather than a universal theme. They're wedded to particularities rather than universal archetypes. So econotypes are like, for example, like the wirehead would be one of them, because the wirehead is a product. There are certain aspects that I truly believe, and I agree with FODcorp, that have always existed throughout human history that have produced the wirehead. But at the same time, the wirehead is a concept that is very uniquely wedded to the digital age. So an econotype would be like, for example, he goes into this in his book, Art After Metaphysics, but an example would be like the flying saucer would be an example. Like people like, he disagrees with Jung in that, Jung believed it was a techno invention of the psyche that expressed a much older archetypal force of possession. But John David Ebert says the UFO is much more of an econotype, because really, as much as certain people can point to like ancient examples of UFOs, what we know as a UFO and a flying saucer is very much wedded to this technical, the age of like instrumental reason and utilitarianism and techno capital. It's very much a product of the current era. The ancients envisioned UFOs much differently. It was very, closer to mythology. So that would be an example of an econotype. I personally believe that memes are an econotype, and that's something that we could talk about with John David Ebert, hopefully in the future. But I think that memes are certainly, there's certain archetypal aspects to them, but I think they're much more econotypical because they tend to vanish, unlike archetypes that prop up throughout human history. I think that meme culture is much more chaotic and much more schizo and much more weird and not as like trans-historical as archetypes are. You know what I mean? Like there's certain memes, like I think the ideal GF, like anything to do with like girlfriends and ideal GFs and e-girls, I think they have a lot of like collective archetypal energy. But the different aesthetics that certain e-girls choose, that's very econotypical.
Well, what an
like
example
the goth girl is like one of. So go.
Well,
go ahead,
would
Lev, yeah,
would an
so-
example be of this? By the way, for those of you who are JoJo fans, if you remember Iggy from JoJo and the kind of stand that Iggy had a stand, and stands, for those who don't know about JoJo, they are a representation of your soul. In this form of this like spiritual warrior thing that you use to fight against other stands. And if you look at the design of this particular stand, you see it's like a mechanical thing with little goofy looking feathers on the head and wheels in the back. And this is something that the spirit of this dog created. So it kind of makes sense that the environment that Iggy would be living in, it would be an urban environment where it would see a lot of wheels from the cars that were driving by. And as far as the feathers, I'm not sure. Maybe like there was like a market somewhere with chickens being plucked. I don't know. I'm just making this stuff up. But the point is that it's interesting that if Iggy were to have lived in ancient Egypt, which was where they ended up going to in the Stardust Crusaders, then Iggy would not have access to this metal, these wires, these wheels for Iggy's imagination to generate this spiritual type. So I think this is kind of what you're getting at here, where it almost seems like certain archetypes are branched out and encased in our modern understanding. And that's how they reveal themselves to us. Well,
yeah.
Well, excellent. And one other meme that I just want to say I'm a big fan of is North FC. I love North FC so much. It's so nice. Where you have Greg's.
The Norths.
Yeah, I never knew there was a thing called Greg's, and now I know about Greg's. And I wonder if anybody ever did like or would want to do kind of like a kids react type video, but with going Northern England and showing them the North FC meme. And maybe having them recite some of the things that they say.
Oh my God!
Talk about Ngubu being signed and all that. I think that'd be interesting. And one last thing before we go. So unfortunately, Poe's Law cannot make it today. I welcome Poe's Law to come in the future very soon. And we are going to have Free for All Friday. So Free for All Friday is tomorrow. And here's who we have tomorrow. Here we go. We have Mercurian Cowboy, a.k.a. Outlaw Prime. We have Haka Says.
Nice.
We have Torchbearer, a.k.a. We Must Bring Fire. We have Shantiman. We have Neko Sattva, a.k.a. Neko Girl 92, who, if you go to her Twitter, apparently it's like a feminized Chairman Mao. Using the AI technology to generate that. That's such a nice photo. I just wanna share it with everybody else.
Is she a communist, a Maoist?
Let's see what it says on her profile. The first international journal of Fujo Batali studies. Contribute now below link Hentai Hegelian.
Hentai Hegelian. Wow. Wow, amazing. So, I guess the Zeitgeist is hentai. So
there we go. We're going to talk about hentai tomorrow, and we're also going to talk about Zoom dick. We're going to talk about the Zoom dick consent. I mean, maybe it's already in the past.
And hopefully we'll talk. Depending on what happens today, we'll guarantee we're going to talk about the debate.
I mean, this is why I didn't do a thumbnail for this yet, because you never know what's going to happen in these next couple of hours. So we're going to stay tuned. But that's not all. We're going to have Hotep Sophia. She's coming. We're going to have...
As always?
Yes, we're going to have Orpheus, Disco Orpheus. We are going to have Remus Ventanus, a.k.a. Calf Defender. We're going to have Corpse Carter coming in. We are going to have Intelligence Absent, a.k.a. Cowbun. Very fascinating dude. This guy, I really want to tell a story. He grew up in Northern Ireland. Around the time, after the Troubles were going on. Yeah. And, he's got a lot to say about all that. And he actually went to an Irish school, like a Catholic school, even though he was not Catholic. So you can imagine, this is somebody who I think grew up to the level of an adult in his teens, while there are people who, like Hunter Biden, for example, who are still anyway, I don't want to cast shade. I don't want to cast shade.
Crack.
Anyway.
Crack is whack.
Anyway, then we have Entrepreneur. Man, we have a lot of people. We have Entrepreneur Vile coming in. He is someone who I think you reply to on Twitter, so he's going to be joining us. and we've got Weird Hiker coming in as well, part of the Prim gang, and hopefully we're going to get him on for
another good friend of mine.
Yes, and we are going to have him on for the transhumanist and Prim 2, Electric Ooga Boogaloo. That's what I'm calling it.
Wow.
So stay tuned for that. Everybody, this is it. I'm going to stop the streaming, and hopefully I'm going to stop it in the right way this time
buy
around.
my painting, $112.
Yes, $112.
I will photograph it as quickly as possible. Buy it, go back to the stream, see me painting it live.
Yes. It's such
Give
a beautiful
me money,
painting.
please.
It's such a beautiful painting. Guys, take care. I'm stopping the stream. Please subscribe and subscribe some more, and share this with your friends.
Go to Patreon.
Patreon.com/breaktherules. $20 members get a beautiful print from Gio. And guys, thank you so much for watching. This was incredible. I love you all.
Mwah.
Take care. Mwah. Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
So here we go. I am ending the stream on this one, and now I'm